Got yours. All right, we want to call this meeting to order, and first of all, thank you. They've left, but the reason we wanted to take that picture, we were just able to have dinner with Representative Tom Peterson and Senator Sandel, talk about legislation and in education and how it affects us. And they are awesome men and always up to the table and up for discussion, and we appreciate the work that they do. So we wanted to get a picture with them before they left. Okay, we're going to start with a reverence from Keith Meekum, and then a flag salute by Board Member DePhillips.
Maybe before I say a prayer, I love this time of season, and I just want to read a little poem about this time of year as I see awesome community, families, individuals, students serve others. It just warms my heart, and I just want to read this. It's from Alberto Rios. It's called When Giving is All We Have. One river gives its journey to the next. We give because someone gave to us. We give because nobody gave to us. We give because giving has changed us. We give because giving could have changed us. We have been better for it. We have been wounded by it. Giving has many faces. It is loud and quiet, big, though small, diamond in wood nails. Its story is old, the plot worn, and the pages too. But we read this book anyway, over and again. Giving is first and every time, hand to hand, mine to yours, yours to mine. You gave me blue, and I gave you yellow. Together we are simple green. You gave me what you did not have, and I gave you what I had to give. Together we made something greater from the difference. So I've always been grateful for people that lend a hand and give how they can, and to also receive that kindness that comes in return. So I'll pray. Our Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this wonderful opportunity tonight to gather as board, as district leadership, along with our employees, our community members, families. We're grateful for all that make this school district a wonderful place to be a part of. We're grateful for the children, for their families. We're grateful for all the good things they strive to do. We recognize that many of them have hard times in their lives. We pray that Thou wilt bless them, and that we will be mindful of ways to lift and lighten their load. We're grateful for our wonderful employees, for all that they do, for their hard work and efforts, and may they be blessed. We're thankful for this wonderful community that gives so much to help support our school district. May they be blessed and strengthened, and know that we appreciate them. We're grateful now to gather. We pray that we'll be able to have wonderful discussions, that we'll be able to listen intently, that we might be able to make great decisions. We're so grateful for our board, for their sacrifices that they make, even though sometimes they may feel unappreciated. We're grateful for the things that they do and how they represent and look out for the needs of the children in this community. We pray that we'll have a wonderful, safe night together and have safety in our travels when we go home. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Please stand and repeat the pledge with me.
Madam President, may I make a comment? I'd just like to let the board and this congregation know that part of the reason Keith Meekum likes the Christmas season so much is he happens to be a Christmas baby. So his birthday's coming up on Christmas Day here shortly. So And it was interesting you mentioned green and yellow and stuff because he's colorblind, and I don't know if he. Anyway. Okay. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on with recognitions from Jamie Kent, our Public Information Officer.
All right, we have some really fun recognitions. First, we're going to start with Mrs. Rogers' class, 4th grade class from North Park. I actually taught her when she was in 7th grade, so this is pretty cool. And then we have Principal Godfrey here, and some of her students have come. If you will open up their presentation. So they had a really special opportunity where they got to go down to the governor's mansion and decorate the Christmas tree and the mantle. And so I'm sure you would much rather hear it from them. So we're going to let them come up and present.
Okay, and we stir this way, not this way. Hello. Okay, hi. So I'm Mrs. Jenny Rogers. 2 of my students have come to join me, and Heather and I could tell you a few things, but honestly, this was about the kids. It was the kids understood how incredible of an opportunity it was that we got to do this. I had to explain it, like, he's like the president of Utah, and they're, and then the word mansion was helpful in getting them way excited to come. Oh, it was an incredible opportunity. They prepared themselves well. They dressed up like this for him, and he was just blown away when my kids came. So I wanted them to give some of their thoughts and experiences. They're maybe a little shy, but I think they'll get a couple words out. So are you guys okay to, Reagan, do you want to go first? Piper? I don't care. Okay. When you go up, we'll start with you, and I want you to say who you are. Okay.
My name's Piper.
Tell what's one thing you loved about going to the governor's mansion?
One thing I loved about going to the governor's mansion was that it was cool to meet him.
What's something about what he showed us in his mansion that you loved?
That the dining room.
Do you remember something he told you about the dining room?
That
It's okay. Piper, it's okay. What was something you loved when we prepared to go to the mansion? What did you love doing? What we made.
that we made ornaments for his Christmas tree.
And you gave the kids time to decorate the Christmas tree. They put them where they wanted. Heather and I watched patiently. Oh yeah, and we have pictures.
Yeah, if you'll hit
I'm
the
ready. I'm ready. If
Yep,
we.
so go
Yeah,
ahead.
absolutely.
So here we are at the mansion, like we were able to take a picture with the governor and First Lady Cox, and she was able to read a story to us. She read several books to us, in fact, while we were there, and they just visited with the kids, so I'll let you keep flipping it. Here was the official tree, and here was the mantle that we decorated.
They did an amazing job. This was hours of preparation and getting all of this ready to go. The kids were incredible in the art class with the teacher. She said it's the best they've ever been when they go to art. They were very serious about their work, and the governor and first lady were ecstatic at these kinds of ornaments that they brought. We wanted to. The theme was looking up a season of wonder. So the kids thought about like the stars in the sky and the beauty of the Christmas time. Hence their cute snowmen, and they did a lot of sparkly ornaments. And anyway, the tree looked beautiful.
If you want to hit it again. And then again, just more pictures. The governor hung the star on top of the tree. And if you want to hit it one more time. And then we were able to take a tour of the mansion, the first floor there, where he took us through the dining room and their living room and told us the history of the mansion. So.
Piper, did you get to ask him a question?
Yeah.
What question did you ask the governor?
That do you get free time?
Do you remember what his answer
Remember what
was?
he said?
That one time that he went hiking with his friends and his guards had a phone to call him.
It was a satellite phone, so he always has to be able to be reached.
That was a great question to ask. Anything else you want to say? Good? Good job.
All
I am Regan Adams. My favorite part of going to the governor's mansion is the tour of with the gold dome and the Christmas tree and decorating. And also, my another favorite thing is I asked him if you need anything, just ask.
I have to give you the backstory to that. We were walking to the bus, and one of the reporters, she was writing the article for Deseret News. She is in sprint mode, trying to catch up, and she grabs me and she said, "Who is your student with the vest?" I was like, "Oh, that's Regan. He's the only one that dresses like a cute cowboy." Oh, that's Regan. And she said, he said the funniest thing at the end. He was the last one out, shakes his hand, and like all seriousness says, "If you need anything, you let us know." And the reporter said everyone just died. Like, what a perfect student. I did not tell him to say that. That is Regan's personality, wholeheartedly. That's who he is. And she put that was her last quote for our article. It was pretty impressive.
He was quoted in the Deseret News.
Yes.
That's really neat.
They were wonderful students. They represented us very well, and I couldn't be prouder of this class. And I just have to thank Mrs. Rogers and then Mrs. Atkins, our para, for all the work they did to help these kids make this happen.
Okay, so we're gonna have you guys go up and shake their hands, and then we have a letter expressing our gratitude to you, and then if you guys will stand up here, we'll take a quick picture.
Okay. So you guys come over here.
Make sure I can see all of you. Okay, that looks really good. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, and next we have our.
Amy, could I just interrupt?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
1 second. Just for an FYI, I'm not even sure if Mrs. Godfrey and Miss Rogers knows, but it was, I believe, Tuesday prior to the funerals for our 2 fallen officers. I received a phone call from a gentleman named Rich Nye, and he's the governor's public education advisor. He used to be a superintendent at Granite School District and at Ogden School District, and he said the First Lady would really be interested in having a class from your school, North Park, and I think it was based on the location of North Park with the tragedy that occurred. And so from there, they wanted a 4th grade. I think we turned it over to Heidi Jo and Mrs. Godfrey, and Mrs. Rogers, you might know better than I, but I think you're the most veteran teacher in your collaborated. As young as you are, you're the most. That tells you how young our teachers are. And so I think that's where it all evolved into there, and I'm just really proud that you and our school went and represented your school, your community, and our great school district so well. So thank you very much. This is really a neat. And I thought the same thing. I've been to the governor's mansion once as a superintendent with superintendents, and it was impressive to me. And that was 6 or 7 years ago, and I'm old. So this is going to be something that these young folks will remember for the rest of their lives. That's really a great opportunity. And thank you for representing our district so well. Thank you. Okay. Go ahead, sorry.
All right. So next we have our C recognition. So these people were nominated by their administration for their work with the C initiative. And so we're going to have them come up as I read their name. Nicole Richards was nominated. She's our S for strengthening PLCs. So we'll have her come up. She is a member of the Science PLC, which is a very strong team. And part of the reason they're so strong is the work that she does as their leader. She's been their leader for a few years, but they do across their grade level interventions, and they share kids, and they divide them up according to skill. And so they do a lot of work that way, which is making sure that they're reaching all of their students. And so she's doing a lot of work too with the strengthening PLCs. Next we have Tom Davidson. If you'll click on that picture, he couldn't be here. He's the voice of the girls basketball team tonight. And so I went and presented this to him earlier today. He was for expanding student connections. He's the student government leader at Box Elder High School and has been for a while. And he spends a lot of time creating activities and a lot of service projects that the students do, and spends a lot of time at the school helping students and expanding their connections. And then our other E is for elevating employee appreciation is Kelly Nesson. So we'll have her come up. And Kelly is the building level technology person. And their building is a little old. And so she does do a lot of work, and she gets called out of her class a lot to go help, and she never complains, and she always makes teachers feel good, and they just really appreciate the support that she gives their school and helps keep them running efficiently. So what we're going to do is we're going to have you guys do the same thing, go up, and then we have some C's candy for you for the C initiative, and then we're going to take a picture. So you guys can start now.
Thank you.
I have Mr. Davidson on the wall for a Z.
Okay. All right. You are going to have to step this way over more. Okay. You can stay standing up. I got her moved. Okay. All right. Then no. Okay. Perfect. Okay. One. We got Tom Davidson in the background. Perfect. 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you. We just want you guys to know how much we appreciate all of you.
Both of those two women were new teachers when my oldest was at North Park, and they were fabulous then, and even more so now, I can tell. All right, I need a motion for the approval of our agenda.
I move we approve our agenda.
I'll second.
Oh,
Karen got it.
all right. Motion by Brian. Did you get those?
I didn't
And a
get,
second.
who seconded it? There's two voices there.
Karen.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we're moving on to, all those in favor of that motion, say aye. 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 Any opposed? Thank you. Sorry, we're moving on to our public participation, and there's nobody signed up. So I don't have to read this really long. All right? Okay. Moving on to action items. The approval of the 2026-27 district calendar and Western Schools calendar. Karina.
What's the calendar? Is it on there? Okay, I don't know if you guys took a chance to look at this, but this is similar to what we've done in years past with stakeholder feedback on doing it after the fair. So you can see we start on the 31st of August, and then it actually goes a little bit, yeah, it's a little bit later, but it's right after the Box Elder County Fair. That's the week right before that. And then we do go later because of that, so our last day is June 4th. And we did elect to do the Friday as the PD day there. So the last day for kids would be the 4th, and then the last day for the faculty would be the 5th, or 3rd and 4th. 3rd and 4th, yeah. 3rd and 4th, okay. And then with the Western Schools calendar, same thing. But of course, theirs is the 4-day. And actually, the next agenda item is to approve the 4-day too. And so I'll just talk about that, and then you guys can do the approvals together. But every 3 years, we have to do a renewal for the full 4-day school week. And so we're up for renewal for all the schools. I think a few years ago, well, in 23, they combined all the schools into one instead of doing them at different increments. And so they're up in 26. So we're currently doing that. We did go out as a belt team to the Western schools and had an open forum with all of the people there at each one of the schools, and it was unanimous in they wanted the 4-day week, so we didn't have anyone against it.
Can I just ask a quick question? Because I'm looking at the Western, there's a few, 3 Fridays that they do attend school. Is that what I'm understanding with that?
On an early out because the Monday is off.
That's Monday, okay.
Yeah,
That's,
if
I
you'll
just
look
wanted
on
to
that,
make
you
sure I
can see
understood
them.
what that was, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
How was the participation of people that showed up?
There were a lot of people there. I asked Melissa, I'm like, oh, it felt like the majority of your people were represented. And she said, yeah, I would agree. And she goes, how would I pull that percentage? I go, well, you don't necessarily have to, but I would say a large percent, like 90 or higher percent.
This is the first year they've had that requirement to have a hearing or an open house. And so we did start, I don't remember now, but we started at
Park Valley.
at
Grouse Creek.
Grouse
That's
Creek.
it, Grouse Creek.
What time were we there? Noon?
Right when
2?
school got out, yeah.
Oh, school got out, so we spent a half an hour there and got right in the car, went to Park Valley,
And
did
then-
the same thing, got in the car and went to Snowville and did the same thing. And people were really, some of them maybe had got the comments and they thought we were there to talk about maybe doing away with it, so.
So they
were
all
very
attended
happy.
because they,
Yeah.
yeah, they wanted to make sure we knew they were in favor of continuing it. So, anyway, do you have any other questions about the calendar?
I had a question. Just in November it has the end of try 1, and then there's 2 days. Is that just a limbo? Like, I don't understand how you cannot start the next trimester.
Will you pull up the calendar so I can see what she's referring? Are you referring to the Thanksgiving break?
Well, I mean that Thanksgiving break is within that, but it just has like the trimester ends on the 24th.
That's just an error. That is a
Oh, okay. I'm
clerical
like,
error
wait
we
a
need
minute.
to
Then there's the
adjust.
24th again. Okay.
We did move it, so yeah,
Oh.
it would be the 23rd will be the start of second try.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay.
Can I
Thank you for
comment on
pointing that out. We'll have to fix that.
On the Western schools too, the reason why they have school on those 3 Fridays is they have to have a certain number of days, even though they're on a 4-day week. There has to- I think it's like 135. Yeah. Oh, 150.
150,
Okay.
yeah. So they will attend those Fridays. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, we need a motion for approval of the 2026-27 calendar.
So moved. I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. We need a motion for the approval of the 4-day week for Western schools.
I move that we approve the 2026-2027 school year calendar for the Western Schools 4-day week.
I second that.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Thank you, Karina.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We are moving on to approval of some new courses. Mr. Meekum.
Yes, thank you. If you'll see there, we have some in our world language courses. A couple of the courses that we're going to offer at our intermediate schools to help engage kids into wanting maybe to learn a language is called exploratory language. It's just going to be 1 trimester. It could be for Spanish or Chinese, depending on which, and we would have the staff to just maybe teach a class, but it wouldn't necessarily be for kids that are in DLI, but kids that are not DLI, that they still may want to have a desire to learn some type of language. And so it's an introductory, which then could move them into 7th or 8th grade of actually picking up Spanish 1, Spanish 2, etc. So Jeff, anything you want to speak to that further?
Do you want me to go to the mic? Or?
I'm sure Mr. Gordon would like you to.
Yeah, so this is something that's done in other districts, the exploratory language course. When I talked to intermediate school principals, they said we need more electives. that are like one trimester we can fit here or there. Harris is even struggling right now to fit both trimesters of Spanish 1 in their school based on staffing and everything. And so this was something that, in talking with intermediate school principals and our Spanish and Chinese teachers, they felt could really boost enthusiasm for world languages and help kids feel a little comfortable and not commit to 2 trimesters, but take one, see if they like it, and maybe build them up. If we can have students pass the AP test and move into Bridge through world language. We've had very few do that in the past, but it's something we'd like to increase the number of students doing, because we have more and more people showing interest in our dual immersion program. I really want to be able to say to them, hope isn't lost. We can sign up in 6th grade. Your kid can do almost exactly the same things in secondary school that our DLI program is giving our other students. So,
stay there.
Yeah.
Answer the.
So I have a question right now. So
Yeah.
do they offer Spanish 1 to 7th graders currently, or
Correct.
6th graders? No, like
7th grade is where
7th
we
grade is
offer
where they.
Spanish
So
1.
this course would be applicable to either 6th or 7th
Right.
grade, so they could get. Okay,
Mhm.
that's good.
Any other questions about? Sorry.
Well, so I was looking at this and I was trying to think back a couple years, because I was like, well, band is 2 trimesters. I know Spanish is 2 trimesters. What are the other 1 trimester electives? That's what I couldn't remember.
In
That it's
6th grade.
in 6th or 7th.
Well, PE, health. They have business, CCAs.
Okay.
There's a handful of
Okay.
art, band. Well,
Well, like I remember, I'm trying to remember. Like, it felt like it was like a packet. Like, you could take 4 classes, and if you took band and that's 2, and Spanish is 2, then you couldn't take art and whatever went with art. Was it art and computers? I can't remember. But so this gives them a little bit more options.
Correct.
So that's
Yeah.
good.
The next one is for Spanish for heritage speakers. This one we have some students that might come to us that their native language is Spanish. And we're going to try to see if we can bolster them and get them quickly into DLI, AP, and into our Bridge program. And do you want to speak more to that,
Yeah.
Jeff?
I'm really excited about the opportunity for this course. The state, in reviewing some of their materials, says that if a Hispanic student takes or earns college credit in high school, it doubles the chances of them going to college, right? Doubling the chances of our kids going to college is huge. And so many of our students, I've found several that are native Spanish speakers, they've been put into Spanish 1 and 2 the last few years, which isn't an appropriate placement for them. And it was because they didn't have strong reading and writing skills, but they could speak it. And so as I was looking at this, talking with other people, we thought we would try out a heritage language course where we focused on the reading and writing aspects. Obviously, we'd use spoken Spanish, speaking and listening as well, but the focus of the curriculum would be that reading and writing to boost that and try and get them into AP, get them into Bridge, get them into our dual immersion, depending on what grade they're in when we do that. If they're young enough, we just put them right in dual immersion, right? But as you get to 6th, 7th, 8th grade, sometimes those reading and writing skills are a little bit weaker. And we believe with 1 to 2 years of a heritage language class, we can bring them up to the level we need them to be at to take the college AP and Bridge courses.
Any questions on that?
I have one question. It's great, great idea what you've got going here. With the dual immersion, has that dropped our traditional Spanish classes?
It's starting to.
It's starting to now.
Because if you think about, on this end of the district, we got the 3 Mile group, and you have Lakeview. In 3 years, we'll have Golden Spike. So now you're looking at, maybe 40% of our students are going to be speaking Spanish. But there still are kids that didn't make a decision in first grade to get into this route, and we want to continue to find ways to support them. So, but yeah, we are seeing less and less kids take Spanish 1, 2, 3 in middle school, high school.
Yes.
And then language arts humanities, Megan Bushnell, our student services director, working with other schools across the district and has discussed with Box Elder High School about offering a multicultural literature and film class. And if it's taken as a senior, it could be an alternate to English 12A or B. If it's taken younger, it could just be an elective course. Again, all of these you need to know, our denominator doesn't get any bigger. So you start offering courses, there's a chance the courses might not fly, but if we can get them approved. All of these have state codes, so we know that the state recognizes them. Then we offer a course code so that we're in alignment and can keep track of credit, etc. The last ones, working with Ben Wiley, our CT director, a couple of things specifically out at Bear River High. Principles of cyber defense and ethics, cyber forensic. It's a pathway that's becoming more and more exciting for people to explore. We need these 2 courses for that pathway to be completed. Again, we always worry about denominator because, you know, if a kid takes this, that means they're not taking something. So, but we believe that there's interest and we'd like to offer those. So these would be our recommendation, that the board would approve these 7 courses, and we would like to offer them for the school year 26-27 upon your approval.
Keith, will the cyber courses, they'll only be taught at Bear River, or just they're going to start there?
That's where we have a teacher qualified and ready. When we approve a class, it's for the entire district.
Okay.
And oftentimes it's one school's kind of ahead of the other and vice versa.
Okay.
So we may start here and we may expand. Anything, Ben?
To that effect, I would just say Mr. Edens at Bear River High, he came from industry. His whole background is in cybersecurity, so short of our own IT department, he might be the best in our district to teach those classes, but Box Elder High will catch up very quickly.
Okay. I have another question. Can you explain concentrator course and completer course? Maybe I should already know that,
Ben,
but
you're, this is right down his aisle.
I was wondering what that meant.
So in the state, the pathways for CTE, there's exploratory courses. Those would be the ones that are taught in 9th grade. Thank you, Keith. You can see those at the beginning at the junior high level. The concentrator is the next step. No, this is the state pathway. We don't always teach every class in every pathway. And then the completer course. We in CTE, we get more money in our budget for every pathway completer. And so by adding a concentrator course and then a completer course, those students really truly increase our CTE budget next year by completing their pathway.
So you can see there's Explorer courses. So, you know, kids will be in 8th, 9th grade like, oh, I'm interested in that. So they start taking it exploratory. And then all of a sudden they get some interest. You're like, oh. And now they can take a concentrator course, which is now we're zeroing in a little bit more. And then finally we have to have a completer course. And so we're doing kind of those last 2 steps with this motion.
Will you remind us what the number of students is that would need to be in a class to carry it?
Yeah, very good. Obviously, high schools, grades 10 through 12, we staff at 28-1. And that's our ballpark. Sometimes to get it off the ground, we may say 25. But you get any lower, then you're like, well, anyway, decisions have to be made. And so we really we can't run classes at 6 or 7. It's just FTE-wise, it's just not a great decision. But if we can get up into the 25, 26 for one trimester, that would be good. And then, I know what he's going to say, so say it.
I hope you know what I'm going to say. To that point, sometimes we have to offer a class every other year. Where there's 3 years at the high school that a student's there, We might not be able to carry every course every year, but I'll pick on equine science, for example. We don't have enough to carry the class every year, but we offer it every other, so then we can continue to have those completers every year as they graduate. And so that is another possibility. If we can't carry this class, we'll do it every other year, and then the interest grows.
He didn't say exactly what I was going to say, but I'm glad you said that. But the thing that sometimes we do is we may pay for productivity. It may come from CTE funds or some other source of funds. If we know that this is a program that's got momentum, but it's just not quite there this first year, but it's close, then we may fund it through a productivity instead of putting it into the entire schedule of a teacher.
I think you better explain what productivity is.
Productivity is when a teacher teaches all 6 hours and they teach on their prep. So normally 5 out of 6 would be a full-time teacher, so productivity would be teaching all 6 hours to fit the course in, if you will. So thank you.
So, just as a side note, when that happens, when we have to carry a class through using productivity, can you just let us know what those classes are and what the number of enrollment is?
Yeah, does that sheet that we have, I know it has what the course is, but I don't think it has what the enrollment is. Yeah. But we have people that do productivity that it's because we have so much interest that instead of saying, hey, you got to go to another elective, we'll run the course. We just need the teacher to give up their prep, and they like it because they get paid. But it's also challenging if you do that too much. So I guess we could come up with that, Karen.
Yeah, if you'll just keep that in mind and
Thank you.
get us that. And with that, I would make a motion to approve the new courses that are listed, the 7 courses, 4 in world language, 1 in humanities, ELA, and 2 in CTE at the beginning of the 26-27 school year.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion passes. Thank you, Keith. All right, now we need a motion to move into a municipal building authority.
President Summers, we have Ryan Murky here to help us navigate this process.
Okay.
He is with Chapman and Cutler, and he is our counsel for the Municipal Bond Authority. So he's going to help us navigate and make sure we stay compliant with the process.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
You know, it's bittersweet being here. You know, the last time I was here, we were going through a bond election. So it is a little bittersweet that now I'm here because of what happened there. So we have the first step before you go into a municipal building authority meeting, and that is there's a resolution for the Board of Education to consider. So number 4, your resolution there. So just a little bit of background. I don't know how many of you were on the board in, I think it was 2011, which was the last time your municipal building authority issued bonds. So the municipal building authority is a separate legal entity that's been authorized for local government entities, including school districts, to be able to finance facilities on behalf of the creating entity. Okay? We do this for a couple of reasons. Number one, you all have a constitutional debt limit. And sometimes you run up against that limit, but you need a facility. And this is a way that you can do it through the municipal building authority. Sometimes you just need a different mechanism for financing, as in our case here. So we have a couple of things that we have to comply with in order to issue bonds by the municipal building authority. First step that we're doing, number 1, or what's number 4 on your agenda, is a resolution of the Board of Education, basically asking the building authority to finance projects on its behalf. And we've identified the 3 projects, which are the remodeling of and additions to the Box Elder High School, the remodeling of and additions to Bear River High School, and a new elementary school anticipated to be located in West Tremont. Okay. We're contemplating that the bonds will not exceed $140 million. That's what's set forth in the resolution. and we're contemplating that one or more series of bonds would be issued. And we're doing that so that we can comply with certain tax requirements. You're supposed to have it spent within certain time frames. And so by doing it in separate issuances, we may be able to fit that in better. It will also spread out some of your payments. So the first step is this first resolution by the Board of Education. You should have that in front of you, and that's just asking the Municipal Building Authority to proceed with potentially issuing these bonds on behalf of the Board of Education and financing the projects. When we get to the Building Authority resolution, I'll explain a little bit more how this works, because there are a few other documents that are attached as exhibits. If you prefer, I can explain it now and get it all out of the way, or I can wait and kind of show you how those documents fit in.
I prefer step by step.
Step by step, so we'll do this first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions on this first resolution, which is basically just a direction saying, please proceed with this process?
Does that need to be in a form of an action item?
It is a form of an action
Okay.
item. There is a resolution for you that we've prepared, so it would just be what we would need as a motion to approve the resolution.
Okay, I move to approve the resolution directing the municipal building authority of Box Elder School District to undertake a project through the issuance and sale of one or more series of the authority's lease revenue bonds and providing for related matters.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion
Perfect.
passes. Thank you.
Great. The next step is the one that you hinted at, is the fact that because we're operating as two separate and distinct legal entities, we're now going to have you make a motion to recess as the Board of Education. You're meeting as the Board of Education, and you're going to convene as the Board of Trustees as the Municipal Building Authority. So we're basically putting your Board of Education meeting on hold so you can go and have another meeting as the Board of Trustees of the Municipal Building Authority.
I move that we recess as a Board of Education and convene as Board of Trustees of the Municipal Building Authority of Box Elder School District.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes.
Perfect. So, you're no longer the Board of Education. You're now the Board of Trustees. Okay? So, there was recent legislation that was adopted by the state to kind of change the process of how lease revenue bonds are issued. And these are called lease revenue bonds because the building authority goes out and finances the project. They technically will own everything that's financed. Okay, so they'll own the additions to the high school, they'll own the new elementary school, and they lease it back to the Board of Education and to the district. The lease payments that you make are pretty much equivalent to the bond payment. Okay? There may be a little extra because we've got the trustee that we have to pay. So there's a slight difference, but basically it's structured so that the lease payment is the same as the debt service payment. Now, these bonds are also secured by an interest in those properties. So if you ever default on the payment, technically you can be asked to leave the facilities. Okay? So that's one thing to be aware of. We don't anticipate that ever happening, but that's kind of the overarching thing. You'll sometimes hear these referred to as moral obligation bonds because everybody knows that the building authority doesn't have any money, can't make the payments on its own, and they're completely relying on you to make those payments. And you have to appropriate each year those payments. But it comes before you and for approval or not every year. Okay? So what this resolution does, well, let me get back to the things that they've added. The first step that we have in our agenda is the fact that the statutory requirements now have a provision that require you to make a statement in your meeting of your intent to issue lease revenue bonds. Okay, and so that's spelled out in your agenda. There's some additional language that is required specifically for school districts to issue those lease revenue bonds, and that's been built in. So as your first step, As president, what I would ask you to do, and there is no motion required here unless you want to, but we just need this statement read in. This is 5A1. And I apologize, it's kind of a long statement, but we need it read in as making it.
Okay. Would we like to have a motion at the end? I kind of like knowing I have everybody's agreement.
And again,
approval.
it's up to you because
Okay.
statutorily it just says it's a statement that has to be read, but if you want the full board's agreement, that's fine.
Okay, I would like that. I'll read it though. The Board of Trustees of the Municipal Building Authority of Box Elder School District hereby declares its intent to issue its lease revenue bonds. The lease revenue bonds may be issued in one or more series, but the maximum principal amount of the lease revenue bonds contemplated under this intent is $140 million. The proposed lease revenue bonds will be issued for the purpose of A, financing certain costs of the acquisition, construction, and improvement of the remodeling and additions to Box Elder High School, the remodeling and additions to Bear River High School, and a new elementary school currently anticipated to be located in West Tremonton. Providing reserves if necessary. If desired, providing capitalized interest to pay the portion of the interest accruing on such bonds during the acquisition, construction, and improvement of such projects, and paying costs relating to the issuance and sale of such bonds.
Thank you.
I guess let's take a motion.
Motion to accept the statement.
To accept that statement.
I move that we accept this statement.
I second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Perfect. So the next agenda item for the Board of Trustees is a consideration of a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of these bonds. Again, it's that same $140 million maximum. Again, one or more series, same projects. We do a couple of additional things in this resolution that the other didn't have. Number one, we attach the form of an indenture and a lease as exhibits. These will be the legal structuring documents as we move forward. They'll come before you again for approval. We have to have a second resolution. Currently, I think, Neil, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we were looking in February for the approval of kind of the
Yes.
first series.
Yes.
So
Just after underwriting and prior to going to sell.
So this will come back before you. This is just because we're going to put out a notice of bonds to be issued. Let people know of your intent to issue the bonds pursuant to these resolutions and to those documents, and give them an opportunity to come in and challenge the issuance of the bonds in those documents. So the master indenture that we set up, it sets out kind of all the basic terms relating to the bonds for the people who buy the bonds. And the lease is the document between the Board of Education and the Municipal Building Authority that leases the facility and provides all the agreements. Basically, the Board of Education assuming all the costs, maintenance costs, O&M costs, all those are the same. So all those additional things that would come in, recognizing that really the building authority doesn't have any money to pay for those things, so the Board of Education and the district are taking on those responsibilities. Call for 2 public hearings under this resolution. Again, these are some of the changes that happened in this recent legislation. The first public hearing has been required for quite a while, and that's to allow people to come in and talk about the issuance of the bonds and any potential impact it would have on the private sector. That came in probably about 10 to 15 years ago at this point. For a while, you had entities that were building kind of recreation facilities, and in some places there were people complaining that it competed against gyms and gym memberships and things like that. So the legislature added this requirement. Obviously, for a school, you're not really competing against private, but we have to do it. It's a step. The other thing that they added, the new addition was another public hearing to allow for people to come in and present testimony on the bonds. So I guess they can just kind of talk, but we have to do it. There's no real guidance on it, but it does say that it has to be held after 6 p.m. and it has to be held separate and apart from any other. So that's why we have to have these 2 separate hearings. The way that that will happen is you'll call the first one, allow anybody to speak who wants to, close that first one, open the second one, allow anybody to speak who wants to, even if they spoke in the last one. Okay? So this resolution calls for both of those hearings and sets forth the publication of notices for both those hearings, and we'll take care of that and work with Neil to get that taken care of for you. The public hearings we're contemplating will be at that same February meeting.
February board meeting.
February board meeting, yes.
Sorry, so both hearings are on the same day?
On the
That's what
same
you're
day.
saying. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, it's, because they have to be held separately, but it can be at the same meeting, but, so that's why we kind of walk through that. You close the one, you open the other, and we have to go through the legal formality and make sure. Okay? And slightly different purposes. Okay? So that's basically what this resolution does. Again, this is the first step in a two-step process to start checking some of the boxes of the state requirements. And again, to get those notices out. Any questions?
Can you maybe at a high level help us understand why we picked the 140?
Our experience, we haven't done any buildings since prior to COVID, around COVID. Golden Spike was the last building we built. But the experience of the surrounding districts has been cost overruns. And that requires them to go back and start this process over again to declare an amount to re-supplement what they are short on if they don't have reserves to pay for the cost overruns. Weber School District, I think it was around $30 million they had to go through and get more financing for. So this is a cost-saving move. We don't have to sell all 140. When we get out to bid, when we get out, we will have our hard cost numbers from our contractors called a guaranteed maximum price contract that locks us into a cost there. When we have those, it kind of gives us a baseline where we're going to be at. So I put 140 because we're probably right around 135 right now. But we haven't finished all our final design. What I mean by that is our engineering set of plans that can then be given to contractors to bid the final cost. So this is just one of those preparatory steps in getting to that point. By declaring a higher amount, we don't have to come back and do all these same hearings all over again. It gives us a fresh starting point.
And remind us, what was the amount of the truth in taxation that we went for?
It's $9.2 million for the capital expenditure portion. Yearly.
The total amount that we were seeking for the projects.
At the time we proposed truth in taxation, interest rates were closer to 5%, and so the $9.2 million payment would get us closer to 120, 110 million, depending on the actual final terms. But the conditions in financing have improved such with the declining interest rates by the Federal Reserve that allows us to take on additional projects. This is why we decided that we want to go ahead and start the re-engineering of the West Tremont building to go ahead and pursue to build that. So the market conditions have improved such in the past 5 months that allows us to take on another project for the benefits of our students with the same payment amount.
Okay, any other questions? And now we adjourn.
Now you need to take a motion
And
and a vote.
motion.
Motion and vote on the resolution.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then we'll,
And then we go back into, okay.
I move for the consideration of a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of not more than 140 million of the authority's lease revenue bonds in one or more series and providing for related matters.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion
now for
passes.
your motion to adjourn as the Board of Trustees and reconvene as the Board of Education.
I move that we adjourn as the Board of Trustees and reconvene as the Board of Education.
I second that.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Can I ask a question in between? Isn't that where you told me to ask them?
Okay.
Yeah.
So can you explain one more time why the state doesn't want us to do this as a board? brother, why do we have to move to the trustee? Why, I mean, it just seems like hoops to jump through.
It is a little bit of a hoop to jump through. So let's see. I don't want to get too bond nerdy on you here in my explanation. So basically, you have a general obligation bond debt limit. Okay? And you have to go out for an election for those general obligation bonds. And so this is a mechanism that was set up so that you don't tap into that general obligation debt limit. These bonds are not secured by property taxes, right? They are only secured by your lease payments, and they are subject to annual appropriation. And so this is the only other mechanism that a school district has to finance a project outside of general obligation bonds. And so they did it through this mechanism of creating a whole separate entity who is the issuer of the bonds and who is the one who is technically on the hook, even though you're leasing the facilities and making annual lease payments.
Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, but part of this has to do with some regulation at the federal level. It creates some of these hoops we have to jump through. It's not solely a state-created issue.
The division between the Board of Education and the Board of Trustees is more of a state statute. It's the creation of another entity to allow you a financing mechanism. Some of the things that we're jumping through on the timing on the different series of bonds, those are federal things that we're trying to comply with. So we're complying with a few different rules. Just so that you know, a city, they have multiple tools that they can use to finance a project. They have these building authorities that they can create as well, but they have sales tax revenues that they can do to finance projects. They have utility revenues that they can do to finance projects. So they have multiple tools. But a school district, up until they created this building authority, you only had one thing that you could do, and that was issue general obligation bonds. And so this was an opportunity to give you another way. And at the time it was, how do we make it so that it's not actually considered debt? And they did this by creating a different entity and by having you do annual lease payments that are subject to appropriation every year. And this is something that's been used in other states. It's been run through the Supreme Court for the state of Utah. And so that's how it was set up. May have been a little bit more than you wanted. Maybe not enough. I'm not sure. I was trying to.
It's the same people. It's the same thing. It just seems like more hoops. So.
Can I ask a question? Like, how long have these been part of the structure? Because I understand, like, one of the concerns, like, as a school district, like, when we have to be reactive to everything and have to wait, and then we're behind on buildings and whatever, and whereas, like, general obligation bonds, you could only do it certain times. How long has this particular mechanism, I guess, been available in the state of Utah?
I think it was the 80s.
Oh, so we're talking 40 years.
Yeah, it's been quite a long time.
Okay.
For a long time, I don't think school districts used it. Mm-hmm. You didn't have the challenges with bond elections that you do now. Mm-hmm. You didn't quite have some of the cost increases that you've seen now. So it wasn't a tool that districts used a whole lot. Over the past 5 to 10 years, you've seen a lot more school districts issuing these types of bonds. But cities and counties have been doing it for quite a while. The state also has a similar program. It has an entity that it's created, separate and apart for the same thing for these lease revenue bonds. So you can see it on all levels.
Any other discussion on the motion? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Say nay. Okay. Thank you for walking us through that.
No. Thank
I
you for
appreciate
having
your
me
help.
tonight. And you're back as your Board of Education, and thank you
Thanks.
again.
With that motion, are we back into regular board meeting?
You're back into your regular Board of Education meeting, and you go on as usual.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to our information items. Mr. Sparks, I saw you walk in somewhere. I looked over here because I know one of your bus drivers is right here. Thank you. 2.
we'll do that last, Neil. So, there's been a lot of questions about buses out there and when we're loading and unloading students. That's the most, yeah. When we're loading and unloading students, that's the most dangerous thing we do in transportation. And so one of the things that we do is we train our drivers. And so I wanted to present a little bit of how we're doing that and what we do and some things we're trying to do as a defense to protect our students. It did kind of hit KSL Radio, KSL News, and in fact we're going to be interviewed on that as well. But I thought I wanted to kind of present some things so the board had that understanding as well. So with that, I've asked Kisha Collum, she's one of our trainers, and she's going to train a little bit. Not the entire training we would do with drivers, but kind of give you an idea of what we do to train our drivers to ensure the safety of our students. Then I've got Jason Jensen here. He's one of our mechanics, and he is amazing too. And he's come up with an idea to help our buses be more visible that I wanted to show you. So, okay, Kisha.
Like Jason said, loading and unloading is our most dangerous part of our job. That's when a student's outside the bus, crossing a road, and very vulnerable.
Do you have that presentation for me to put that up? Oh, okay, it's there, good.
So right here, number one, school bus is the largest group. This is the largest public transit fleet in the country, and nearly all of them are active during the morning school window. Total U.S. fleet, there are over 480,000 yellow school buses nationwide. Morning operations, nearly all routes are completed between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. to get 26 million students to school. Estimated is highly likely that 300,000 to 450,000 of these buses are actively on the road loading and unloading during the 2-hour window. The estimated number of illegal passes in a single school bus day in the United States, the total number of vehicles illegally passing stopped school buses is estimated to be over 200,000 violations.
Sorry.
That's just our morning window.
Is
not
that
our
like
afternoon.
when the stop sign is down and somebody just goes past?
Yes.
That's what that's talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
To break this down, that's just for the 7 to 9 a.m. window, not our afternoon window. I asked our drivers to all stand. I asked them 3 questions, and I had them all stand. If they've ever used their reds, every driver stood up. That means that our stop sign was out. We have activated our red lights. We're stopped. They all stood. And I said, please stay standing if you've ever had your ever had your reds ran by a vehicle. Not one driver sat down. I said, have you ever had your stop sign out with your reds and a student outside of your bus, ready to cross or to go to their home on this side? Not one driver sat down.
So that's, they're actively unloading and still have somebody go through.
And then I asked them, what is your defense? The only defense that we have is our ambers to slow. As soon as our ambers come on, that's our yellows up on top, not our 4-ways. The ambers on top. I found out that we become a school zone. That means that the cars should approach us at 20 miles an hour. They do not. I drive I-way string and I see cars pass me at 55 with my ambers on. When the red lights come out, that is when all traffic is supposed to stop. Those are my 2 defenses that I have. Other defenses that I have as a driver is I've taught my students, they go out and they take 5 big steps in front of me. If they are crossing in front of me, I have my hand up and I'm checking my mirrors. And when it's safe for them to cross, I will go like this. The other defense that I have is if I blow my air horn, they are to freeze in front of my bus. Because that means that in my mirrors, I have picked up something that's not safe for that student to cross.
Keisha, can I get
Yes.
a clarification? What you're talking about right now is when they're on just a 2-lane highway, correct?
It can be any time that
So-
our reds are on.
But typically it's 2 lanes.
Yeah,
But
2
if,
lanes.
like 89 out in Perry,
Oh,
where,
boy.
where they're not,
That's a
doing
nightmare right now for
construction,
our drivers.
but where there's not construction, if they pull over to the right, the kids only get off that
That
way.
side, yes.
So
And
this-
if they do, and our drivers are taught, if they can pull off the road,
Okay,
they will turn their hazards on, and then that means all the students are going to go to the right. There's none that's crossing to the left.
But then to your question in
Yeah.
Perry, the construction has it down to 2 in places.
Down to 2, that's
But
where,
if it's
that's,
4 lanes and it's divided like it is,
Yeah.
then the drivers that are going the opposite direction do not have it.
okay, that's, okay.
So in this little picture, you can see the bus is there, the student's going to get out, walk, like I said, in front of the bus, make eye contact with the bus driver. The bus driver will give the signal. We've also trained our students that when they approach that double yellow line or the center line, to also look so that they have a set of eyes, because 4 eyes are better than 2. And then they get to go home to their family safely. So that is something, and each one of our buses have those in there now, so that the students can see them and the drivers can see them.
And then if you want to talk about what we do at the elementary school with the
Yeah,
training.
and then in the fall, we go to each elementary, and we bring them out and we talk about the danger zone around the bus. That's 12 feet, 10 to 12 feet around the bus. Not to touch the bus, not to throw things at the bus, that the snow can make it slippery so they don't fall underneath the tires. We go through an emergency evacuation. We put them out the back so that they are aware if they're ever on a field trip, because eventually every student in our district will be on a bus.
And so we're training all elementary students regardless of their.
Yes, yeah. So every student at every school, we went to every school and spent about a half an hour with each grade. We had, like at Golden Spike, we had, I believe, 6 buses there with trainers, 2 trainers on each bus. And we went through that school and taught every kid. And then in the secondaries, us bus drivers take the responsibility to go through our own emergency evacuations, where we have people on the bus that will help. Some of them know how to pull the emergency brake if something happens to me. Some, they know how to use the radio to radio into district office. They know how to go out the back. They know that if on a train, they're going to run towards the train. You would think it wouldn't be, but it's running towards the train because the impact's going to push things this way. So they need to know how to run, how to go away from the impact. And then this next little thing, the critical procedures, this is all for us bus drivers. We start our ambers at 200 feet, about 5 to 7 seconds. And then at each stop, we will start those ambers. And then we are trained that you will look at mirrors. You will pull your park brake, look at your mirrors. You will put it in neutral. You will look at your mirrors. You will activate, open the door for the reds to come on. You're going to look at the mirrors again. And as those students get off, if you have 4 go this way, you're going to count 4 that way. If you have 4 cross in front of you, you have to keep track of that. Some will walk along the side of your bus. You're going to wait till they get all the way back away from the bus so that the bus can move forward in a safe procedure way.
You want to tell them the story?
Well, one night, I drove up on Marble Hill. I drove Miss Summers' kids many years ago. And I was up there and I was I had gone to McKinley. I believe Brett Larson was the principal at that time at McKinley School. And the teacher had gave the students these little foam airplanes. And I says, please put it in your backpack, put it together when you get home. Well, Tommy, and that's not this student's name, I just used Tommy. I pick on Tommy a lot. So Tommy, on the way home, put this airplane together. And as he goes, I see him. I don't see him. He gets off the bus, but I don't see him walking down the road, because up on Marble Hill, we had to let him, and then they walked down the road. And so I had to get off, and I had to secure my bus. He had tried to fly his styrofoam airplane, and he was underneath my front tire. I did grab grabbed him by the backpack and I pulled him out and I says, don't you ever do that to me. Your friend's on this bus. The mom was running. The mom had seen him, and the mom was running towards the bus. And I'm like, please just go home. But as I noticed his mom got him, mom kicked his bum. So, good mom. Good mom. So, yeah, we are taught that if we can't count those kids, we are to get off. And if we can't see them, we are to get off, secure our bus, get off, and find those kids. So we went through all this, the unloading and loading. That's for us. And we'll go down to the picture. In 2027, it's not 27, sorry. On August 27th, 2018, at approximately 3:12, I had 2 students outside my bus ready to cross in front of me. Now, it's on the road coming from the dump, and I was headed east. It was the gray house on the left-hand side. Before I turned onto that road, there was a truck and trailer that was 7 country telephone poles away. The speed limit was 55, but in the unloading and loading zone, the speed limit had changed to 40. I had plenty of time so he could see my ambers. Those students were outside my bus. And as I held my hand up and I was checking my mirrors, I looked and I'm like, we are going to get hit. Please, we got hit. So the next picture, this is the engine. He hit so hard that the engine came up out of the top. He hit us at between 55 and 60 miles an hour. He did not slow down at all. As he hit us, he pushed my bus 10 to 15 feet forward. And how they know that is that when I let the students off, there was a certain weed, and then they measured from there to where my bus rested. Now, I had my park brake on, and I had my foot on the brake, but when the truck hit me, they lift up our duals, which our brakes are on, and then I got shoved. As I got shoved, one of the students got hit. The door hit her shoulder. That's the only thing that happened, other than I did have one student on the bus, and she said, ow, and I went back and held her head until EMS got there to take care of her. That day, if I would have not did my training and the training that we do for our drivers, Box Elder School District would have had 2 fatalities on their hands and on me. And I am a firm believer that, and Jason has a great idea, and I appreciate what he does for us as a mechanic, because he makes sure that those buses are safe too. We sign on the line every day, but if we have a question, we go in and talk to Jason, and he fixes them. Him and Ryan and John and Randy, all of our mechanics are amazing to keep those buses rolling. And I don't know if you guys ever had known this, but every route in our district, we have a picture, it's in the Brigham office. Our buses will go outside of United States all the way around in one day. And when you have drivers stand up that have people run their reds, but all those students get to go home, our training is paying off. Because those people aren't watching what we're doing. And so I thank you for your time. And I love my job and I love my students, past and present.
Thank you, Kisha.
Thank you, Kisha. And just so you understand, so the state legislature did increase the fine for violating and going through our reds. It's $1,000 first offense, $2,000 second offense, and then $3,000 plus potential jail time for the third offense. But we are seeing these, and it seems to be picking up. So we're trying to make sure that we're training. We're doing all we can to be defensive. One of the things we do is we do pull, and we have these happen. We pull the video, and we can get the car. Most of our buses now have cameras out on the stop arm, so we can get the plate. One of the difficulties with the way the Utah law is if the driver says, I wasn't in the car, and you can't see because a lot of times it's dark or it's tinted windows, it's hard to prove that that was the person. But we still send it in, and we try to work on that. So with that, so I went to a conference a couple years ago, and there was a company there that had what they called a stop arm extension. And so it extends out past the stop arm, and it's lit, and it was fiberglass, and so I got some. We put some on our routes that had, like Kisha's, the most frequent offenders for going through our reds. And it did diminish that dramatically. Didn't end it, but it did diminish. Jason had an idea of how to even better improve that system, and so he's designed one working with the high school. So I'll let him explain, and then Neil, we can.
So the one that we were getting before, it was basically a 48-inch fiberglass, like a trail marker looking type thing, just a 4-inch wide, 48-inch long. And it had lights on it, and you'd attach it to the bottom of the stop sign, and it worked good, but the problem is going down the freeway, the stop sign would actually sit and flap because it was catching the wind. Where it mounts to the bus, it was actually bending the stop sign, so we were constantly bending them back. So I drew this up. It's kind of the same idea as what they had, but this is a new solid piece. It's twice as thick on the stop sign, so we don't end up with the bending, and then we just integrated the extension to the stop sign. So it's all one solid piece instead of bolted together. So we had Dave Schaefer up at Bear River High School. He actually cuts those out for us, and then I bring them in and paint them, put a decal on them, and then wire the lights up to them. So the ones we were buying, they were $450 a piece. These ones are right around $100 to build it. So significant cost savings.
Our plan is to put them on every bus, as Jason can build them.
Yep.
And the high school help us.
Yeah, it takes about an hour to build one. So. Yep.
Is that the we should.
That would be cool.
Is that?
Can we sell them to other
That's a thought I've had, is going and sharing that with other districts. I don't know if we can make a profit. I don't know if that's.
Is that the Bear River High School welding shop that's doing that with you?
Yep.
What device is it that cuts that stop out?
Plasma table.
Yeah,
Plasma
CNC
table.
Plasma table.
So that's not the H2O table that you say is the new
I
thing.
would love to buy a water jet table, and if I had $100,000 extra, I would do it for both
Okay.
high schools. We are going to use Box Elder High School as well at some point, but right now it's just Mr. Schaefer on the north end.
Thank you.
Of course.
We actually caught a car.
Oh, yes. We had a car hit this, and they got a ticket, and the highway patrolman's like, did you hit the sign? She's like, yeah. And he says, yeah, and that's your problem. And I did check this out with the state, the highway patrol, as well as with and this is legal to do this extension. And if they do hit it, they're at fault because they didn't stop.
Wow. That sign's towards the front.
This is the front.
Correct.
Yes.
Is there any way to put one towards the back of the bus?
We could. I mean, we're just trying to get one on every front.
And it only goes out, does it go out on both sides?
Just
No.
on the left
Just
side.
on the left, right?
Yeah.
I just suggest putting it in the back as well to increase visibility. If you're too close to the bus, it's hard to see that stop sign at the back of the bus, so we have talked about that.
Jamie, can we get a picture of these two?
Yeah, let's have them hold it, I guess.
Why don't you go on
One
this
thing
other
too
side?
is, I don't know if you've seen the very last picture, but the buses that we have, they are tough. The damage to the bus was very minimal that day. So they are made very strong.
Not with me.
You,
I'm just holding it till you guys grab it. Go back over here.
You hold that, that's your baby.
I just want people to know they were here presenting. Can you maybe share some of their stories and slides on social media? Thank you.
The reason we had this presentation was Jason asked to make this presentation here based on the fact that it seems like there's been an increase of these reds being run recently, and so we're going to have a campaign. Jamie's going to help us with that and get the word out that we need to shut this down. And I think one of the big problems is that construction out on 89. They used to be a four-way, and now is in half of it at least right now. It's just a two-way, and that's really a really big problem right now, isn't it?
That part, Iowa Stream,
Yeah, that's where you are.
highway between really Deweyville
Yeah.
and Brigham through Honeyville, those are our primary, and I guess I should come up there. Sorry, Robert. I do work with the local authorities and let them know where our hot spots are. They actually will go and follow our buses. They'll be right behind a bus so that people come and don't see. And as soon as they go through our reds, then they just go and ticket them. The great thing about that is they see them, they can ticket them right there, and we don't have to go through that proving that they were behind the wheel. So we're doing that as well. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for all you're doing.
Sorry. Do we send, I don't know how I should know how driver's ed is taught now. I really should. I don't. Do you guys go talk to driver's ed? Do you guys go talk to driver's ed classes too, so we make sure our high school students are not running bus? I know they teach about bus safety and driver's ed, but I think it would be a great opportunity if you could, but.
Many years ago, I did have a high schooler run my reds, and I called the mom. That young man came and cleaned my bus from January to the 1st of May.
That's awesome.
What a great mom.
Or maybe at an assembly for a few minutes if the driver's ed, catch him every year.
And now I've seen him at the store, and he has a young lady, a daughter, and he says, "Don't ever run a red."
This is part of the curriculum. All
I
of
know
that
it's
is
part of the
discussed.
curriculum, but I just want,
Yeah.
it's more, you absorb it better when you hear it in person
Yeah,
and
so
hear
they have state
stories.
videos that they have to show with buses, and they kind of simulate, and they talk about the fines.
So do you have any idea about monthly, how many of these reds are being run? Do you guys keep any of that data?
So the state does a sampling every year, and I can get that data for you. But typically when we do a sampling, so they have everyone in the state do the exact same day, and we sample. And typically we have 5 to 6 on that sampling day. In our district. Yeah, on that day. And that's about, I mean, we have a lot of buses out there, but that's about typical, unfortunately.
On average, our buses drive 8 million miles a year. Well, that's just day-to-day transportation. Field trips add into that, but we're about 8 million miles per year. We're one of the highest mileage districts in the state.
Thank you again. Thanks for being here. We're moving to number 2 on information items, the RISE Utah Aspire Plus data and graduation rates. Mr. Morris.
Just to reiterate, Mr. Sparks hears from me at least annually. I observed one of these just a couple weeks ago. Gave him a call, let him know what I had seen. It was dark, hard to see kids running across the road, and there were lots. So anyway, we've got some great things to go over with our data here. First off, right before I came here, I received a message from Mr. Meekum about state graduation rates being published today on the state level. I didn't have that data when I prepared this report, so it's not in here. But the state's current graduation rate is 89.8, and that's up over the last few years. When I pulled up, because it added some data to our reports as well, we have increased our graduation rate by about 7% while decreasing our dropout rate from, I think it was 14.6% to 8 point something. I can get those exact numbers and everything later, but from 14 to 8% really, we've dropped our district's dropout rate. And so we look at graduation rate as kind of the ultimate goal for our students? Are they graduating from our schools? And we've moved above the state average. We'll see all that in here. But just where that was so fresh, it's not depicted in my data the way that I would have liked it to have been. But I wanted to start with that. We're above the state average in graduation for the first time in several years. And we're going up and decreasing that dropout rate, okay? We'll look at RISE data and Utah Aspire Plus here in just a moment. And sometimes we get a little concerned that some of those numbers are low on the state level, right? We'll see a couple grades like that, but we are getting them to graduation. We're getting, you've seen the AP scores that I've presented before, the ACT scores, and we're doing well on those measures at the very end, and we want to see continued growth. Also, as we look at this, go ahead and go to the first slide. Oh, back one. All right, there are a few things to remember. First one, that with our RISE ELA results, they're very hard to compare to last year. So you'll see some changes on the state level and the district level with last year's scores in reading because they completely changed the test, right? So it is hard to compare those, but I'll compare them anyway. The second one, Utah Aspire Plus, this is the last year we will give that test. That test will be replaced next year, so that's a 9th and 10th grade test in ELA, math, and science, and that'll be replaced next year when RISE moves from 8th grade all the way up to 10th grade. All right? And then the third one, next year, yeah, just what I explained. Next year, RISE will be given 3rd through 10th instead of 3rd through 8th, and some of the changes that will make is Utah Aspire Plus is a grade level test. So it's designed to test, are you on 9th grade expected level? And some kids are taking one course, some kids are taking another course. RISE will be a subject-specific test. So it will test secondary math 1, no matter what grade you're in, 9 or 10 or 8, right? It'll be a secondary math 1, so it's a test of what you learned that year, rather than what you should know by the time you're 16, 17, 18, okay? So those are the differences between those, all right? So these are our ELA RISE results in 3rd grade on the left, 4th grade on the right. The blue is the Utah, the state of Utah results. The orangish red color, those are our Box Elder School District results. So for 3rd grade, you can see there hasn't been much change in the state's results, their level of proficiency over the last 3 years. They were 46, 46, then 45. And the district's results have been 45%, 46%, and 45%. So we've stayed pretty even with the district in 3rd grade on RISE, or with the state. District and state have stayed right there, and we've stayed right at their level, okay? When we look over on, oh, go back. I didn't, 4th grade's a slightly different story. The state has stayed about 45%, but we've moved from 42% to 46% last year, right? So we've seen a dramatic increase to pass the state's proficiency level at this point, and we're looking to build upon that again this year, okay? 5th and 6th, all right? Again, the 5th grade, the state went 43, 48, 43, and we went 47, 43, 43. So we've been consistent at that state level. The state did drop 5%, but we made up 5% and are now at the state average. Okay, with 6th grade, You can see they've been up and down on the state level for between 40 and 47%. We've been between 36 and 40, so we kind of jump up and down there at 6th grade. All right.
Sorry, just so
Yeah.
just so that I can understand, this is the way they were testing this rise was what they did know, but now they're changing to what?
That's
Is
in
that-
the 9th and 10th grade starting next year.
Starting next year.
Right.
Okay.
Where it's changing from a grade level test to a subject specific. The changes that happened here with ELA were just the core that they were testing, right? So they changed the core and they changed the proficiency targets. So it adjusted our scores. The state went through a long review process to try and match those up somewhat, but if you try and compare a student's score at the student level, their score last year was probably a 340 something in 3rd grade, and now it says it's a 1400. They just completely changed the scale, so you can't compare those on a student level.
It seems like there's a lot of like trial and error. That is it the state that you're talking about them? It is there like other states like why we just haven't figured this out yet? I guess that's are all states having this problem?
All states have similar problems. Some states have gone to back in No Child Left Behind, there were several states that formed coalitions and they all gave the same tests. And then political entities didn't like that because it was nationalizing education. And Utah was one of the states that politically said, we don't like that ideology. We're going to do our own tests, right? So we separated from a lot of those national tests that were commercialized. And so the state has a pretty large department that creates with teacher input, that the teachers help create the standards, the teachers help create the assessments. The only thing the teachers aren't involved in, from my understanding, is the setting of the proficiency targets, right? And so they really like that state control. They really like that teacher control of our assessments. They really like local control of determining what proficiency looks like and things like this. We just scrapped a whole test and are creating a brand new one because we didn't like the old one, right? Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
I have a question on this one. What
Yeah.
are we seeing in 6th grade that usually we're keeping pretty much up with the
Right.
state, and on 6th grade, it's notably lower. What are we looking at
Yeah.
for that?
And we're looking to identify some of the causes of that and work with teachers to help support them. We go up and down. We've been consistently below the state average in 6th grade. I don't have. Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Ashley.
So in 6th grade is when they go to the intermediate school, and in years past we have kind of dropped off reading interventions at that point because we hadn't had a system in place to do reading interventions in intermediate school. We have just started that last year. We're trying to get some momentum to pull it into other schools, but we started at young intermediate, where those students who we know have been struggling in elementary school, we're still giving them support in secondary school on how to build some of those deficit skills that they have. So we're hoping that that will help with some of this, and also, like Jeff said, doing some training on just best practices for language arts instruction and for literacy.
And I would also maybe add, we will be having cohorts from Harris and Young and Bearver Middle and Boxville Middle School. They're going to be coming together starting this spring and aligning maybe their priority standards to make sure that both ends of the district have those same priority standards, along with maybe alignment to the blueprints of these assessments. So they use these scores to then say, okay, as we have priority standards, and we focus on certain aspects, make sure we're that way on both ends of the district, and we make sure that if 40% of a certain standard is part of that assessment, you've got to put a little time into that assessment or that standard if you're going to have an improvement. So alignment the best we can is something that we're working on this beginning in March.
Right. And even last Friday, I met with several teachers at Young Intermediate and was showing them how to take these results and drive their instruction with that. But I agree with Mrs. Nelson. Many of our kids in the elementary school are successful because of the interventions, and we drop those off, and it becomes harder for many of them.
Mr. Morris, can I ask you a question? So they're taking this data from last year.
Right.
So we're just getting this, right?
Right.
So it's a one-time snapshot. So it's really reactive. Like, it's very hard to like use data because they didn't start this at the beginning of the year seeing these scores. I mean, I'm sure they're always continually improving, but so, and I know there's lots of learning targets and assessments that happen on a daily, weekly level in the schools. How do those reflect, like, how can they align that so these end-of-level scores are more accurate, I guess?
Right. So first, two things here. The first one, this data was just published. Usually it's published right around the first week of school. But because of the standard realignment, they had to determine what proficiency was, get that approved by the State Board of Education, and then do some quality control, because when they first looked at the data, there were several errors. And so then right around Thanksgiving it was published. Usually we try and publish it and make sure people have this at the start of the school year. For two reasons. One, take your students that you currently have and look at where they were at in the spring and adjust instruction. The second one, to look at how you did last year in teaching all of those different areas Mr. Meekum talked about, and then say, okay, I need to improve in my depth of knowledge, right? So that's what we're working with teachers on. Okay? All right. Let's go to the 7 and 8. I'll pick up the pace a little bit, sorry. So you can see, again, 7th grade is a little bit lower consistently, but we've kind of closed that gap some. It's now only a 4% gap. We'll continue to work with them to improve that. 8th grade as well. We've been just a little bit lower on that 8th grade data. And then our 9th and 10th actually has shown some growth lately. That Utah Aspire Plus going up to 41%, just 2% behind the state. We seem to be right behind them. And then over in 10th grade, we were at 51%. We passed the state average there. So, okay. So then this is the growth percentile by grade. And what they do is they take every student's score from 2 years ago and compare it to last year. And then they line those students up and they in a percentile, first percentile to 99th percentile. Then they take for each class or grade the middle score, and that's the median growth percentile. So that's that MGP right here. That's a very simplified explanation. But basically, the first column is the state, the second column is the district, the third column is, 23, 24, and 25. Sorry, I got that all mixed up in my mind. The state's average is always 50. They renorm the test annually to the 50th percentile, being the middle on this, right? So you can see our results in 23, 24, and 25, 23 being the blue, 24 being the red, and the yellow being 25. We were pretty consistent in all of our grades the last 2 years before the 25 school year. And then we've shot up in every grade level, showed improvement from the 2 years before, with all but 2 of our grade levels, that 5th and 6th, now having the median growth percentile in our schools be above that 50th percentile, right? And 40 to 60 is considered the average range for the state. So we're in the average range in all of our grades, and we've moved above that 50th percentile in most of them, okay? So looking at our math really quickly.
Want to do a
Yeah.
shout out there. That's
Yeah.
exciting.
Mhm.
That's awesome. So
Huge
thanks
growth.
to the teachers and administrators for all their work.
Yeah. Yeah. Our math is pretty consistent. There were no major changes in the math test last year. Those are coming in a couple of years. But we've been consistent as a state. We've shown a little bit of growth in 3rd and 4th, more in the 4th, but that matches the state's growth there. So 5th and 6th, really pretty similar again to the state. And then 7th and 8th, it was nice to see that 6th grade in math match that state average, by the way. But the 7th and 8th also were right around 47. We're matching the state in 7th and in 8th. And then in our 9th and 10th in Utah Aspire Plus, again, we hit the state averages. 10th grade, especially in math, on the state level, they're really concerned about participation. A lot of students are opting out of the test or conveniently being sick on the day of the assessment throughout the state, right? And so we have low participation numbers in that grade level in particular. So
I think it's just a good reminder that when RISE came out, it could count as a student's grade, and it also was part of a teacher's evaluation. And then what happened is it no longer became, you could not grade it, it could not affect a teacher or a student's grade, and it obviously was not part of a teacher's evaluation. When we saw those two things, it has kind of affected statewide data, our own local data, and there are some kids that give us their very best, but we also have kids that have really quick fingers at times.
yeah, and that's, our numbers match the state's in participation on that. So then the MGP for math, again, you can see in every grade level growth from the previous year, except 6th where they stayed right at it. And every grade except for 10th, we are above that median growth percentile of 50. I love that 8th grade math. We see some amazing things going on at our middle schools in math, where they're just doing a fabulous job, as you can see from these growth scores. Okay? So that brings us to the graduation rates that I already talked briefly about. The state's number, they would have one more column that would be 89.8. So the state increased by 1%, but Box Elder School District increased by 1.7%, almost doubling the state's increase, right, as we mentioned. Every one of our schools has shown increases in graduation rates for the last 3 years. I went back to 2017, and back then, 9 years ago, our graduation rates were in the 83% range. And to see our schools at averaging 90% right now, 91 at Bear River and 90.9 at Box Elder, is a fabulous thing. And I think we all can't stop smiling about those Sunrise scores and the way that they've moved from the mid-50s to 83.2% this last year. Just fabulous growth, and we're getting our students to graduate. Our counselors, our administration, our teachers are working so hard to support our students, and we really appreciate the leadership of our superintendent, assistant superintendents, and the school board to help us to be able to reach these goals, see our growth increase on all of these tests as they have. So with all of these things, we're doing several things to try and improve. We talked about a few of them, but one thing that we're doing is we're doing widespread use of RISE benchmarks to prepare students for the depth of knowledge and rigor required on RISE that sometimes our classroom assessments may not have. We're also encouraging the incorporation of AI to help us improve the rigor and depth of knowledge of some of our assessments that we have. We have our grade level teams that are working together to look at the data here, to look at what we want students to learn and be able to do, and they're creating plans, and it's led by the teachers, and they do some great things with that. We're focusing on RISE and grade level standards, in particular in grades 4 and 5. We have our MAP testing in grades 6 through 12, 6 through 11 really, but MAP testing gives us 3 data points during the year where we can evaluate the growth of students, and they've adjusted the MAP to align it more to the same standards that our RISE and Aspire Plus standards are. So we're hoping to see a better correlation there, but districts have seen high correlation between MAP testing results and proficiency on RISE. And then our effective professional learning communities. And those professional learning communities we have going on are doing the work to look at what these standards are, what we're tested on, adjust instruction based on student needs and how students are scoring in their classroom. And those are the things that are getting us improved results in our grade levels. I believe that's the last slide. So thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments for me?
Have we been doing something specific? That decrease in dropout rate's pretty impressive. Have we been doing something specifically for that?
Well, I think both high schools have mentors, the check and connect mentors to work with our at-risk populations to make sure we have more touches with them. I think we're being very creative with helping kids find ways to graduate and find paths. I think we have a tremendous amount of people that are taking CTE type courses that allow them to have a place where they can have interest, can get a certificate, and have opportunities to grow. Sunrise has just been phenomenal to help kids that feel like I'm not cut out for this, to find a way to say, hey, I can make this. And so as you see, you know, from 50 to 83%, that's a belief with our teachers that, hey, you can do this, and we've got options for you to help support you.
I think
and then Megan Bushnell and her
the
team
work she's doing
have
with
come up
attendance
with some dropout strategies
Yeah.
to identify kids quicker. We use panorama data to identify these kiddos, and then again finding connections to stay in school, finding interests that they want to be involved with. So it's just been taking a lot of, I mean, it goes right from a teacher having a connection with a kid to a counselor being involved to having our LCSWs being involved. I mean, there's just it takes a lot of people to have touches with all kids and families, and there's just been a lot of effort going on, I would say, up and beyond.
I think we need to make mention probably too of Sunrise with Dr. Jerry Jackman and some of the changes he made to their, you know, they went to semi 4-day week where and the board approved a lot of those things. And then Randy Rasmussen's been doing, you know, the follow up on that and the way they do their pods and their I don't know, what do they call the pod mothers or mama bears, something like that. So I think some of those creative ideas that have occurred by some of our administrators been incorporated into the staff to really believe in it and to help these kids. And I think Sunrise is a perfect example of that, but it's going on throughout the district.
Right. And I've personally had to go to administration, go to counselors and say, my child is not going to graduate if something doesn't change. And I have seen them bend over backward to help my kids, right? I'm like, I'm a school principal. My kids should be graduating, you know? But they worked incredibly hard. People rallied around them and helped my kids to graduate. So I've personally seen that, and I really appreciate it, and I can attest to they work really hard and have a nothing's going to stop me from helping your kid attitude. So
That's awesome.
yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, thank you, Jeff. We're moving on to number 3, literacy information.
Do you want to open up our presentation? Yes. There's 2. These should be this. Oh. We just have one. We're going to get us back on track for time. Just kidding. So we just have a celebration about literacy. This data was shared, some of it a little bit ago, and so we just want to highlight some of the points just to help you guys see like the work that's gone into this. There's a quote by Steve Martin, which later became a book. It's called "Be So Good They Can't Ignore You." And it talks about how important skills are and that it trumps passion. And so if you want to become really good at something, you can't just be passionate about it, you have to have skills. And lots of times our passion for something comes after we have skills for it and we feel confident in what we can do. And this is a lot about the foundation of what we're doing in schools. This is why grading, our grading whole system has changed, gradebook. Teachers are getting really good at identifying what students need, and they're also getting really good at understanding their craft. So this one is specifically about literacy. There's been a lot of work in our district to help make sure teachers understand the science of reading and all the stuff that they need to be able to teach, and teachers are getting really good at using their formative assessments and assessing students and identifying who they are. So if you want to click to the next one. So this was the data that we shared, and we're going back to this because this has actually been mis-shared on social media. And so we just want to help clarify, this has been shared as 50% of our students are at grade level. So I'm going to let Ashley go over this and then show you like what it actually means. But we also wanted to stress that we were above, like when you compare with other school districts in the state, we were in second place with our data when you looked at other schools with populations of over 4,500. So this is really good data and really good work that our teachers are doing. So I'll let Ashley, she's going to take over for the next couple of slides and explain the data.
Okay, so with the passage of SB 127 a few years back, the state goal moved to, we wanted all third grade students to be blue by the end of 2027. So what that means is when we give our Acadian screener, they place kids into levels of risk, really. So the students that are red are highly at risk for having reading difficulties. The students that are yellow have some risk. Our students that are green, they say are at benchmark, meaning that they're about 60 to 80% likely to hit future reading benchmarks. Okay, so green is what has typically been called grade level in years past. But what our state has moved to is we want a higher expectation for students, and we want our students to be blue, which is that they are 90 to 100% likely to continue hitting our reading achievement. Okay, so when you look at this and it says we're at 56.8%, that is how many students we are blue, which is what has typically been above grade level in years past. So if you scroll, Keith, if you wanted to look at in years past what we've considered grade level, the green and the blue together, the state average is 70%, and our school district is 78.2%. So we're quite a bit above where the state is, and yeah, then the next column is still just blue comparison. Okay, so the plan, and Keith, does that link open this? No, see, that's what I was worried about. Do you have our Canva? Or I can email you my.
Yes, I think that.
Yes, okay.
I'm like, I know I shared
Perfect.
that.
If you go to slide 5, just want to show you the plan. There's a giant plan. If you hover over it, then the link should pop up. If you just click on it. We can, well, it's a whole spreadsheet that opens up, but it should open up if you just hover. If you click, like, just anywhere on it. Okay, there's formula for success. Will you go back to the other one and just click anywhere on the
Bottom part.
You're good. Okay, this will work. If you go over to kindergarten, so what we did is when this passed, that was my first year in this position, which was 23-24. So we said, if we want third graders to be 70% blue in 2027, that means that we need 70% of kindergartners to be blue, 70% of first graders, second graders, so that we can get 70% of our third graders there, right? So where it says that composite, that line, in 2023, we're already at 71% of our kindergartners blue. So we just decided to push that goal out for our 2027 to be 80% blue. And then you can see in 23-24, we were at 71. Last year, we jumped up to 73. And then our goal for this year is that we'll get 77 so that we can hit our 80% in 2027. We have an action step. That formula for success thing shows every month of kindergarten where their scores need to be in order to be on track to be blue at the end of the year. So we have monthly goals that every kindergarten team reports to me on how many students have met that expectation. We share with each other what schools are getting really good results and what they're doing so that the schools that aren't getting great results can do some of those really high leverage activities. If you go to the next tab over, Keith, oh, there's some action steps of like, this is everything that we're gonna do. If you go to where it says kindergarten literacy block, just that next tab over. Yes, thank you. This shows, and if you were to scroll, you could see more, but on the left-hand side is every piece of literacy that's important that we need to make sure that we're hitting in a day, and then how many minutes per day that the teachers are expected to teach that area of literacy. This is the state model, and then we just put that into, this is what it looks like in Box Elder School District. So the green columns are what programs and curriculum are on the state-approved list, and also that we have purchased and approved from Box Elder School District for them to use in Tier 1, and then in Tier 2, which is the reteaching of what they're doing, that's grade level skills, and then the red column is what's approved to be used for those interventions, the remediation for those like very far below grade level skills for them to use. So we have that for every single grade level. If you want to click on the first grade really quick, just to kind of give you an idea of first grade. So in 23-24, we were at 53% blue, and this last school year, we had a jump of 10%, which is huge. Like, it's so exciting, and the teachers are just like, they've taken it, they've embraced it, they know that this is what needs to happen in order to prepare students for future success. They follow the action steps, they follow the expectations, and it's making a difference. So it's super exciting. We don't have to go through every grade level. That would take us all night, but if you want to move to the next slide. This is just kind of an overview of the work that we do in literacy. First, like I said, we do the Acadian screening, which tells us overall where that risk level is and how much support we need to give our students. From that, we do diagnostic testing, because it's one thing to know a kid isn't performing on grade level, but okay, then what's our action step? Like, what is the underlying cause that is keeping them from being successful. So it might be phonemic awareness, which is very basic skills that we do in kindergarten and first grade. For example, if they can't orally blend the sounds, if I say k, a, n, and they can't say can, they can't do it orally, they're not going to be able to do it when they read. So first we have to teach them how to play and manipulate with sounds just by listening. Then once they have that,
You learned that.
we can go, he learned that, you saw the video, it was awesome. So then we go into phonics diagnostics. So can they read CVC words, which is a consonant, vowel, consonant, very simple words. Can they read blend words, digraph words, silent E words, words with vowel teams? Can they read multisyllabic words? So we have testing that really digs into exactly what skill they need so that we can put them in an intervention group to target that instruction for them. Sometimes they have all their phonics skills, but they're not fluent readers. They haven't learned how to put it all together and read it smoothly and at a pace that's easy to understand, so we have them in fluency groups. And then sometimes it really is, they can put it all together, they can read fine, but they're not comprehending what they're reading. So then we have to do some comprehension work with them. Again, our reading intervention groups are very targeted to every individual skill. We do require that they use research-based programs. They can't just find something cute on the internet and do a fun little worksheet with them. It has to be something that's evidence-based, that is on the state-approved list for them to use. These groups are run by our classroom teachers and also our reading paras. We have lots of reading paras that we'll talk about in a minute that do an amazing job at delivering this instruction for our students. The last piece is that we have RTI meetings every single week, where it's the administrator, the instructional coach, and every grade level teacher comes together to meet and talk about kids. All these kids that are red and yellow, we look at their data every single week to see, are they making progress in these reading intervention groups? Because if they're not, we need to make a change. So whether that is changing the teacher, so maybe they've been with this para, they're not making progress, so let's move them with a classroom teacher to see if we can get their data moving up. Sometimes it's we need to increase the time that they're in this group, or we need to slow it down a little bit and stretch one lesson into 2 days so that we can really dig in and intensify the instruction. Sometimes it's this one program is not working, so we're going to switch and try a different program to see if we can get the data moving. So that's a very important piece.
Ashley,
we're just
before
staying
you,
on top of
before
that.
you change there, RTI is response.
Response to intervention.
And that just means that when the kids don't get it, what are we doing to intervene to help them get it? And that's
Yes.
what you explained is all these different types of things
Exactly,
we're trying.
and if it's not working, we have to make a change. We can't just every week after week say, yep, they're still not moving, yep, they're still really struggling. If they're struggling, we need to make a change in what we're doing to help.
So Ashley and Heidi Jo have actually done a ton of work with this. They have data sheets at each school. So when you go to RTIs, they're opening up and they're identifying students, and all this stuff that she's talking about is on this sheet. And the teachers are going through and selecting and just making decisions about what to do with their students. So they come to their RTI meetings and they're prepared and ready to go, and they have this data sheet in front of them to talk about.
One of the things, one of the thoughts that I've had and that I love about this is student focused. It's not program focused. We're trying to teach kids by this program or do this. We are teaching, not me, you all, are teaching students their needs and like celebrating when they're progressing, and then like I just love hearing this, that we're going to change it up. We don't keep doing the same thing hoping to get different results. And there is a science to it. I remember when my little kids were learning how to read, I'm like, they're just getting it. I had no idea. And other kids are like, they just don't get it. And I'm like, but there's skills. Anyhow, love it. So grateful. Thank you.
One more thing I'd like to add, just today, for instance, I came over here just to see what the room over here looked like in preparation for tonight's meeting, and Ashley and Jamie were over here with the coaches in our district, and they were, at the time I came over, they were working on a math, way to teach a math problem. And they had 4 different groups, and they were teaching the same thing, but they were each teaching it with a different method. And one of them was even doing a silly dance how to teach it. It was caterpillars and leaves. And so it's really awesome to see where we've come at public education. We just don't, as Ashley said, we just don't keep trying to teach them the same way over and over and over again. and knowing they didn't get it the first, second, third time. And just this very simple thing they did today is 4 different ways to teach the same thing is going to reach certain kids in different ways. And so, as you know, Jamie, one of her hats that she wears is the secondary math specialist, and you're the instructional all the way through for both literacy and mathematics. I mean, I think you know that. I was explaining that to everybody else. So,
Elementary, though.
yeah, elementary.
And secondary.
Okay, so just
And science.
and science and lots of things. Okay, so I just this just really, when we have these kinds of nights where we talk about the things that have been talking about, it just really makes me feel good about the role I've played in being just some part of public education and the great things that we're doing. And I don't think a lot of people understand all the things that we're doing, and I think this is a great night to talk about that.
Well, and the training that has gone, that's where our teachers know what they're doing. I mean, this is the conversation with my daughters, because I have 2 daughters that teach elementary that are in years 1 through 4. We'll be driving down the road, we see a sign, and they'll be like, why does the I make this sound in this word? And they have this whole conversation, and I'm like, we just read it. Like, they know, they're like talking about why it says that and this. And so like our teachers really do have an in-depth knowledge about what they're doing, which is important. And then this is why we celebrate.
Just a comment.
We're stronger together at BESD.
Just a comment. I had
Sorry.
the opportunity to sit in on one of these REI meetings at Willard, and it was just so interesting to see the teachers engaging, and maybe if you took this student, it would help, or this is how I did it, and it was just exciting to see all the collaboration going on, and they're really teaching to the one.
I just had one question. Yeah. Is going weekly, is that enough time to know if that student is responding?
Yeah, so typically they have enough kids where they have like a rotation. So it's usually like every 2 to 3 weeks that we would talk about our red kids, maybe every like 3 to 4 weeks that we talk about our yellow students, but they kind of have a rotation so that you're right. We can't, if we're looking at it every week, it's not enough time to see if it actually works, but yeah.
But I think their chart too also helps so that they don't waste time and the ideas are already there. I was sitting in one RTI, it was math though, but they were talking about it and they're like looking at what they've done and they're like, we can't just do the same thing for 1 more week. We've got to change something, and so like they know how long they've been trying it because the data is right there in front of them. Okay, so this is why we celebrate and being stronger together at Box Elder School District is the people. We're talking about 3rd grade literacy right here, but these skills and helping making them be so great that they can't be ignored as they go on to their other grades, this goes with them for the rest of their life, and their success is when they get up into high school is going to be so much better because they can read and they have this foundation. And so we just want to highlight all these people that have done this work. So these numbers are just K through 3 in our district because we're just looking at this particular goal right now. We know we have lots of other amazing things happening all through our district. But at the district office, it's taken about 5 people. That's including directors, assistant superintendent, and administrative assistants as well. And then we have 16 administrators. That's including our assistant administrators in the elementary schools.
And our instructional coaches, they're amazing. They help all of our teachers on things like classroom management, teaching strategies, how to use the programs most effectively. They're also the ones that run these RTI meetings. They ensure that all students are in the correct groups and that students are making progress and that we have documented all the changes so that we can move forward. 162 amazing kindergarten through 3rd grade teachers who, like I said before, they have to buy into this. We can make all the plans that we want at our level, but until teachers realize the importance and buy into it and follow the plan and share with each other best practices, none of this would happen without our teachers. So they are truly amazing. We have 186 reading paras in our schools that work with K through 3, and they are troopers. Like, they are just bouncing from one grade to another, one like subject to another, one program to another. They do some really, really amazing things. And then 3,463 cute little kindergarten through 3rd grade students
last year
who work really hard too to make this happen. We wanted to make sure to celebrate their hard work too. So that's it.
So can I ask one quick question? This is awesome. What can you tell us a little bit about what we're doing for those kids that are getting it?
That are getting it?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So I've talked about the diagnostics that we do all the way through. So even like second grade, you know, maybe they're only expected to get through like single syllable words and being able to read all the phonics skills through single syllable words. Well, we are pushing them then into, well, can you do it in multisyllabic words? Maybe I can read a silent E word if it's just one syllable, but if we add another syllable onto that, can you still read it? And then are we giving them lots and lots of opportunities to read? Are we putting them in novels? Are we having good conversations with them? Are we having them write? So yes, we want to take them all where they're at and continue to have them grow. And even our blue students, if we don't give them extra things and extensions, then they're not going to stay blue for very long. We have to still like give attention and instruction to those high kids to keep them high.
So they have all their action steps listed in their plan.
Yes, we do.
It's very detailed.
It's very detailed.
You guys will have to check
kind
it
of
out.
intense.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much. This is exciting. Yes. Okay, we're moving on to the monthly newsletter. Jamie?
Okay, so this one will be really quick. If you'll just, we just need to open up so you can see what I'm talking about. Yeah, there's a link. Right there. Okay, so this is, this page actually goes to all the communications that we've sent home to parents. So our survey result is up at the top. So if you'll scroll down to where it says hello fall, it's like you're gonna have to scroll for a minute because we've sent out quite a few messages recently. But we've been trying to send out a monthly newsletter right there. Go back up just a little bit. Each month to our parents from the district. So this is information that is district-wide, not just something pertaining to one school. So this is just an example of the last one that we sent out. You know, different things that we're talking about that affect our district, and just trying to keep that communication so parents know. We have the 7 mindsets that we're doing in all of the schools, and so they focus on one each month. And so if you scroll down, you can see what the 7 mindset was for this one. We talked about the gift card scam. But right there, 7 mindset focus was empowering minds, everything is possible. And so that was the focus for last month. And so all the kids in every school are working on that. And so this just sends this information home. We also do a spotlight on attendance. So every day counts is the campaign for that. And so anyway, that's just to let you know that that's going out each month to parents. If you have any suggestions or anything, like, you can let me know. You can email me of things you'd like to see go out. Any questions on that?
Okay. Anybody?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for your work, Jamie. It's awesome. Good communications. All right, we are moving to number 5, our monthly financial report from Mr. Stevens.
Good evening. I'll be short here. Our monthly finances are in line with our budgeted amounts and also with prior spending from last year. Keith, if you can zoom in approximately line 5 through 14. Yeah, and I don't know if we can see that there, but if you look at the column with the current versus actual and the previous year versus actual, you'll see our revenues are as percentage of the budget this month are in line with what was done last year. So that means we're fairly consistent in our budgeting. We're consistent with our budget is consistent with what we actually receive. And as you scroll down, Keith, maybe go down to about line 24. The bulk of our expenses come from salaries and benefits. So on line 24, we can see here that the instructional salaries are in line within a few percentage points of last year's budgeted versus actuals. And this trend holds true throughout the majority of our budget as you go scroll through here. There are exceptions where we have certain expenditures that are front-loaded, such as construction expenditures or purchase service expenditures. We pay for services up front and on a contract, whereas they may not have been paid for quite yet in the prior years. But consistently, we are within our budget. We are on track to adhere to that. I don't foresee any surprises to present to the board for large requests that weren't already considered. Any requests that we would need to consider would come before the board, and we would ask permission to engage in those expenditures. Of note, not listed here, but this is the first month when we have a significant flowing of property tax revenues from this new tax year. We have received to date about 60% of the estimated tax expenditures, property tax revenues from the county. Next month, we'll probably get another 30%. So in these 2 months, we usually collect about 90% of our property tax revenues, and the rest kind of trickle in. After January, I think 5th, property taxes unpaid are considered delinquent. As a trend analysis, our delinquent property taxes have been trending up. Last year, this time last year, about $4.5 to $5 million delinquent. This year, we're probably around $6 million delinquent. So that is trending up a little bit, but that's all types of taxes. That's property taxes on residents, it's on businesses, it's personal property taxes as well. We hope that going forward that the county can, because they are the collector of these taxes, these revenues. So we rely on them to collect them and find ways to resolve delinquencies. So hopefully going forward, that delinquent amount can come down. We have any questions?
All right. Thank you, Neil. We appreciate that report. Let's move on to board committee reports. Does anyone have a report from one of the committees you're working on?
I sit on the attendance committee that was just made, I guess. Anyway, it's just been really fun to hear how they're doing a lot of really good things. I think our schools are doing a lot better with attendance, and I don't know, they just seemed very positive and look like they're headed in the right direction.
That's good. Thank you. I want to report on the Jubilee of Trees for the Foundation Committee. The Jubilee of Trees, this is an email from Marcy. I asked her just to give me some numbers so we could all hear how they did. The Jubilee of Trees doubled in size this year. It went from 9 tables last year to 17 tables this year. It will no longer fit at Utah State's Brigham City campus. It's scheduled for the fairgrounds again next year and will be 1 day less in length, November 4th through the 7th, with 1 day for the public instead of 2. There were 16 trees and 36 baskets and wreaths donated and auctioned. The total received after expenses was over $28,700. These funds will be used for the foundation goal of support of student health and wellness. So that was pretty awesome. I got to go over stop by there a couple of times on Thursday and Friday, and it was really well done. Mr. Wiley, thank you again for the doors he made. I don't know this whole story, but he found some doors and he put them on stands, painted them black so that all the wreaths that were donated were like, stop shaking your head at me. It was awesome. Put wreaths on the doors. It was just a really awesome way to display the wreaths, which we hadn't had previously. Anyway, great turnout. I love that we've outgrown one building and, had to go to a bigger building. I don't want to put any pressure on anyone, but I would really love next year to do a Christmas tree from the board. If anyone or if all of us were willing to donate a certain amount, maybe, would you give that some thought? And I'd be happy to put it together if you trust me with that, but and donate a tree from the school board. I think it would mean a lot for our student wellness and the foundation if the board got more involved, if possible. So give that some thought, will you?
And it's different dates than board meetings.
It is. It's not on the same date as board meetings. And, part of that is just the availability of the building. It has very little to do with like an oversight of planning. It's just we're there when the building's available. And it was a great venue. It was a really good place to have it, I think. Anyway, so thanks. Anybody else for a board committee report? All right, Michaela, it's time for our student board member report. Thanks for being here tonight.
The big like events that are going on right now, sorry, is the Make-A-Wish fundraisers for both Bear River and Box Elder. Each school gets to sponsor a kid and like help fundraise money for their wish. Bear River has a cute little 8-year-old boy. I don't know his name. And then Box Elder has I don't remember if she's 7 or 8, but her name is Violet. And they just have a bunch of like activities throughout the month. Like both schools did a fundraiser like dance, and it's just something little at the school. Box Elders was on Saturday, and Bear Rivers is this Saturday. And they just fun like that's the whole. I don't know. They posted a lot on their social medias, and during like announcements, they announced the things that are going on. Box Elder has like a silent auction in their office where you can buy like electric toothbrushes or Airbnb passes, and so that's really cool. And then Bear River is doing like before school and after school activities, like they have pancakes and stuff, and like hot chocolate before school, or you get to like slime a teacher or something. So that's really fun, and that's like the whole like they do it every year, and this is all of the month of December that they do it. So yeah.
Thank you, Michaela. I love to hear those good things that our kids are doing, so thank you. All right, we're going to move on to November Employees of the Month, and that is there for your information, right?
Yes.
And moving on to policy review. I would need a motion.
Couple questions. Just like in policy 1222 on the naming of the facilities, taking out the 20% of the value, it doesn't appear that was like mandated by a state policy. So what was the thinking behind that?
Neil and I worked on that one. With our new builds and our remodels coming up, we looked at that policy, and it says either $1 million or 20% of a, is that how it said it?
It's and.
And, thank you. And we felt like that and was going to keep us possibly from receiving funds from certain entities if it had to be 20% of a project. For instance, somebody could give $1 million, and if it had to be 20%, that would be a $20 million project. Did I do my math right? Off the spur? And we have some situations right now where that probably wouldn't work out with what we're thinking, so we'd like to make sure that $1 million is factored into it. That doesn't keep a company from donating some money just because of the naming rights of the facility.
And it would still come to the board for final approval. It's just the criteria before the board considers it would have some more flexibility.
So rather than taking it out all the way, couldn't we just lower it a bit? I think that if we're talking a big project, we'd want it to be a significant percentage of that project.
Well, that would allow for debate amongst the board about what significant means on a project-by-project basis.
Well, that's why I'm saying if we put it in there at 10%, then there's no debate. It's a standard that is across the board, whereas if there's nothing there, it becomes the debate, what is significant?
I think one of the things to consider as a board is 20% of a $40 million elementary school is $8 million. And if you're going to have $8 million donated, that just feels like well, number one, it'd be a tremendous gift. But if it's $1 million or more, and now that's a big number for a school. Now, for a smaller project, maybe not, and maybe that's something to consider.
A smaller project would be like the field, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Like when else? A field house. Like when else would we?
Even a field house
or a gym.
$10, $11 million, so you're looking at a $2 million minimum donation.
For the 20%.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that served us well in the past, and I think that it looks like we're trying to lower the bar so that we can have naming rights.
We're recommending, Superintendent and I, that we have some flexibility in considering this rather than a rigid bar before we even consider it. That's all. That's what we view it as, and considering the resources in our community, we feel like that, at least I do, feel like that's an appropriate recommendation.
I'm sure you do, or you wouldn't have put it in here. I'm just saying, I think maybe if we, rather than taking it all the way out, if we put it like at 10%, so that there is some significant skin in the game.
I personally think $1 million is significant. Like for any business or company, like that's, because it used to be low. I don't know if it was that.
It was lower.
It was like lower than that, and I think that if we're asked, well, I don't know how to say this, but I'm just thinking specifically of the resources in our own community. These are the people who are going to want to invest in our schools and on our projects. And if we make it so it's not within reach for their company, then we're losing out on $1 million. I don't know, $1 million seems significant to me, but that's, I kind of like this policy because I think that limits what we can, not that we're soliciting, but we would love people to donate and invest in some of these projects that we know are really expensive. So those are my thoughts.
Well, a little bit more of a backstory. We're aware that we have, what do we have right now? 3 schools that have a family name with them. 3 Mile Creek's actually, I don't even know what the name is. Rose Young. Thank you. Rose Young at 3 Mile Creek. Then we have Alice C. Harris and we have Adele C. Young, correct? And when those buildings were named, the bar was much, much lower than this. So about, I think 5 years ago, we changed it to this particular bar that we have right now that we're talking about changing. And right now there is a project, I'll just flat say it, that we do not think somebody will donate 20% of the project, but they might donate $1 million. So I don't know if we're chasing money, but $1 million would sure help out, where on the same project it costs $10 million, it'd be $2 million for them to do that. So I think that specifically, that's what we're talking about, and that's why we bring policies to the board to see what the board thinks, and we're willing to change to whatever the board, because you are the deciding factor. So this is our proposal, and if somebody wants to make a motion to change it, then that's great. That's how this thing's supposed to work.
Would it be at all possible to keep that in there, but then have a second one that if you do $1 million or whatever we're going to, that they can have a hall named after them? Have instead of like the Green Hall, I don't know.
I'm just thinking, if somebody donates $1 million, does that, I mean, and they want to change the name of Box Elder High to their name, it would be a lot harder to say no if we've set a precedence that somebody donated $1 million for the field house. So $1 million across the board, when one building might be worth, building at 10 million and the high school at 40 million, but it's the same 1 million that gets your name on the building.
Well, I think the key word is still may be recognized by naming in that first line. Just because they donate $1 million doesn't mean that they get naming rights automatically, right?
Absolutely. I think that's probably the key phrase, is that may be recognized by naming the school for the donor or the donor's designee. And so I think that if we raise the bar to that 20%, then it's, I don't know if we're going to get there. I've often said if I won the lottery, I'd go back to Bear Lake High School, and they've got a weight room, and I'd fill it full of weights, and I'd have them name it after my mother and dad. How's that? And I'd put $10 million into it. But even getting $1 million in our community is pretty unusual. And as I remember the stories that I was told, were those 3 schools that were named that donated actually significantly less than $1 million. If I'm only going off of memory, so if anybody out there is listening online or knows, please, I'd be glad to be stood corrected. Is that the correct way to say that?
Well, it was my understanding years ago, and I agree with Julie here that it was around $50,000 to $100,000, and you could name a building or name something, and that's incredibly low. And so we, as a board, did raise that to $1 million, which is a huge increase. And I feel that that's a lot of money, just like Julie said.
Yeah.
To me, that's a lot of money. And I think in our community, to get $1 million would be a big, big to-do.
And I like what Danielle said about the may. Like, they say, we want to donate $1 million to Box Elder High School and rename it this. We're like, no thanks. Like, I don't know. And maybe some future board would, but like, there's some, and when we talk about in addition to a school, you know, like when we're talking about some of these separate buildings, that's one thing, but like a whole high school, again, board has discretion. I like that word may in there.
Well, and B is specifically only for naming of the school. C is specific to additions or improvements. Correct? Yes.
Yeah. That is correct.
And see, that's, on C, it has that 10%, so that's why I was wondering why we took that out altogether on B. I think.
Well, because 10% of a project is much different than 10% on a school.
I get that, but I do like the percentage in there, because if it's a big project, that
But you
might.
said 10%, right? Is that the percentage you put out there?
I just did 10% because that's what C said. So I was just wondering why we did it with C and not B. So.
I drafted this policy, and the thought process behind this was that on B, because of the larger projects, that would leave room for the negotiation the board to consider, whereas leaving 10% on C, which are smaller projects, it puts some guardrails around there. I mean, for example, a brand new baseball field is right around $1.5 million. So 10% of that is $150,000 or $250,000. That, to me, seems like a more realistic goal to achieve with philanthropy and fundraising than 10% on a new elementary school. That would be $4 million. I don't know that our community has the means to donate $4 million for naming the new elementary school. Again, it's just designed to provide flexibility when consulting with community members about donations they wish to make, that it's not a no right away because it's not 20% of the project.
On C though, if we leave a percentage in, 10% still has to be more than $250,000, so there's not really flexibility there.
Yeah, but on the smaller projects, there's not as much flexibility. We didn't feel like there needed to be because of the smaller dollar amount.
Heidi Jo, would you do me a favor on that C, right before 10%? I think it should be than instead of that. Would you make note of that, and we can make sure Marcy makes that change? Am I correct in that?
Yeah.
That's correct, yes.
This is why we're supposed to track with our fingers when we read.
Yeah.
All right, is there any further discussion on policy 1222?
I'll just comment. I think it would be, it seems to me like we would be missing out on opportunities if we have that high of a value. So I'd rather get something than nothing. So I'd rather have, that flexibility personally. And as a board, we can still determine.
Okay, any other discussion on not just policy 1222, but policies on the first read?
I was just wondering if we could get a little bit more explanation on 4104, the grading packet credit policy.
Yes, it's a new policy. We do not have packets in our school district, but there is another policy that's written here tonight that refers to a packet. So we do not have packet credit. We could, we just don't. And if we ever decided to, this would be the model policy We have 0 packets. But we felt like we needed it in order to have the other new policy, which is grade replacement. So that's the connection. But right now, we have no packets.
So by putting this policy in place, it doesn't require us to do grading packets?
No.
It's just if we did, this is how it would
Correct.
unfold?
Correct. So we have no intentions to do packets right now. However, if we were to, we would follow this policy. But it is also alluded to in a next policy, I can't remember what it's called. And that's, anyway.
Is 4115
Yes.
grading course grade replacement?
Yeah, so it talks about a packet. It can't be a packet in that. And so Marcy and I talked, we said, well, let's just get them in if we ever go down that road. We are not at this point.
If I could make mention right here too, just a side note that Marcy talked to me about this past week after policy review is, it used to be, you know, as I hate to blame the legislature, but as we get more rules handed down to us from the legislature and the USBE, we have to add more policies. And we always had a lot of room between like 4105 and then, but as you can see, so she has made the suggestion to start working next year on trying to renumber some of these policies so that they're in order with each other. And I think the two that we're talking about right now or makes sense to have the packet policy right next to the grade replacement policy. And so we'll see that's just something I just remembered she talked about that I think it's a good idea we need to do. And so that's something that needs a lot of time and preparation, and probably in the lull, when we have the lull between the end of the legislative session and about 2 months is when the USBA's Patrick Tanner of I forgot the name of the law firm that does the USBA model policies. There's a lull in there that maybe we can do it in that time frame in that May, June area, start working on that. So, and that way it would allow us to have our policies very, very back to back to back, where sometimes you have to, like this one, jump here to here.
Yeah. Another question I have is on policy 4108, where it's basically the deletion of paragraph B, exception regarding basic civics test. So in that deletion, what?
Yeah, so, you know, for, I don't know, 10, 12 years, every 8th grader needed to pass a basic civics test to graduate. Well, that has now been removed, and a civics education course for high school seniors is going to take its place. We were in a meeting, well, Ben stepped out, but we were in a meeting yesterday where the state boards actually, we heard it was going to be for the graduating class of 2030, but now it looks like it might be for the graduating class of 2029. It feels a little unfair. They're debating whether or not they increase graduation requirements to a 24.5, like just add another required, which would maybe require us to go to 30.5, or we keep it at 24 and we lose an elective choice somewhere along the line. All that's still, but in the meantime, the basic civics test has been deleted as a graduation requirement, which is what this is.
So I have a question. So I know, like, I have a 10th grader, and I'm pretty sure she took this basic civics test in 8th grade, but I have a 7th grader, she won't take it next year.
Correct.
Like, they're not even doing the test.
Correct.
Because it's not required.
Well,
they're
they
gonna
can
take the course.
give
They'll
the
have to take the
test
course.
as part of, you know, information.
Yeah.
But in terms of it needing to be checked off and
It won't
passed,
count, yeah.
it will not happen. But your 7th grade daughter will have to take a half a credit of civics education, either their junior or senior year, to graduate. And we haven't put that in to policy 4060, which we will as soon as it gets massaged out. We'll present that to you for board approval. We'll make sure that parents are notified in PCCRs, which are plans for college and career readiness, and so that people can make plans moving forward.
So if I understand you, I just want to restate. It's still required, they're just moving it to a higher grade?
No. They're going to get rid of this test, which was an open book test. It was a test, not a class. It was given usually in U.S. history 8th grade, but it was not a class. It was a test that you could take at your own will. Now it's going to be a class. In addition to U.S. government as a senior, you'll also have a U.S. civics and
Trimester.
And what that looks like, the depth, all of that has yet to be determined. It was presented by a social studies teacher who is retired or whatever, and now he's a legislator, and he got enough support to move that along. It is a non-funded class, which means we'll have to hire a teacher at both ends of the district, because if 500 kids have to take that class, that's a teacher. So we'll have to hire a teacher, or we'll have to eliminate an elective because our denominator's still the
part of
same.
it right there, isn't it?
So all of those will work itself out in the coming years, and I'll make sure that you guys are very aware when the dust
Give us
settles.
money, but then they give us more requirements, and then they take money from under.
All right, so policies on first reading. Any other questions? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the policies on first reading.
I move that we accept policies on first reading.
So was that a second, Brian?
Oh, did somebody already?
Yes.
Sorry.
Wade just did. No, you're fine.
Sorry. I'll second.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sorry, I was talking to
No,
you.
no, you're good. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. You got record of that, Neil? Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to second reading.
I move we approve policies on second reading.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. We are moving over to the consent items.
I love that Box Elder's gonna have a jazz band. Have they not had a jazz band before, or just not for a few years?
They are going to do it as a kind of a
Club instead of a class.
Yeah.
I love that.
And there's more to come. We have an outstanding band teacher who I believe went to school in Davis, at Davis High School, and was part of the band and has been part of Rose Bowl and, you know, all these different incredible things. And she has great visions and is motivating kids to do some amazing things. So we'll actually be bringing something when we get into school fees for extracurricular in January, February.
Well, I move we pass the consent items.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the consent items pass. All right, suggestions for future board meetings. If you look at January on those, there are a couple things that are just copied and pasted from last year that don't apply to January this year. We'll get those cleaned up. But any other suggestions for future board meetings?
Superintendent, what's the program that we're piloting that we talked about earlier?
Oh, yeah.
It is the alternative learning classroom.
Okay, I'd like to
Professional
suggest we put that on at some future point when you think we'd have information to present.
Brian would like to, Heidi Jo, help remind me of this. In 2 or 3 months after we get it up and running, he'd like to get some feedback on how things are going.
I'd be happy to do that. Would you like to hear from teachers or administrators on how it's going?
You can decide either way.
How soon are they gonna get up and running?
I already have 5 principals that have requested if it's
Oh, nice.
passed tonight to be able to start and implement it.
So
It's
they're
been
ready to go.
Pretty beneficial and successful in the intermediate and middle schools.
Awesome.
So
Can we know which schools those are that want to start them up?
I could probably tell you from memory, but let me double check just to make sure that I get it right. Discovery Elementary, Golden Spike Elementary, North Park Elementary, Garland Elementary. Missing, did I say McKinley? No. McKinley. Those are the 5 that have emailed already. So I will have Karina post those positions tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. And upcoming events. First and foremost, I guess, is our USBA State Conference in Salt Lake, January 8th, 9th, 10th. That starts the evening of the 8th. I know Danielle can't make it. Is everyone else planning to be there? All right. And last I checked the day of, and I think all but one had completed the Master Board Award. I actually didn't know who.
in right now.
I actually didn't know who. I just knew that all but one. I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to call you out.
No, I just like had this realization as you said the state meeting, and I went, I forgot to do that.
Tiffany, can I say one thing
Yes.
about that?
Yes.
I don't know if you have any more meetings left down there with the Utah school boards, but
Yes, I do.
I really thought that was really confusing this year, how they did
Did ya?
it.
Okay.
And it was really hard to determine what you were supposed to do, and then what you did if you completed it. I actually had to talk to the superintendent, and he had to call down to find out if he had completed it and I had completed it.
I had to call down also.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I thought they have to do some way to make it
Yeah,
simpler and
okay.
easier to understand.
I meet with them on Friday, so.
Okay, because it's always been pretty easy in the past, but it was very confusing this year, so
Okay.
they must have changed it
All right,
somehow.
I'll mention that. Thank you
Okay,
for that
thanks.
feedback.
Okay, I thought it was confusing.
Okay.
I didn't know what I was doing.
Is there anything else as far as dates coming up?
Can I just make a comment about tonight's meeting?
Please do.
I feel bad because I think three of the folks who presented tonight are not here, but, you know, if you look, think about what we've heard tonight from Ben, from Ashley, from Jeff, from Jason, from Karina, and from Jamie, and usually we hear from Catherine, and then our two assistants, superintendents. I just sit here and I'm just amazed at, you know, I've been in this business a long time, but I wish I knew a third of what they know specifically about each one of their areas, and the expertise they're bringing and the ideas and the things that they're doing to help our students be successful in this school district needs to be recognized, and by the superintendent, I think, mostly, because I feel incredibly fortunate to work with such knowledgeable, excited, good people that are doing whatever we can to help our teachers and our bus drivers and our paras and our custodians do good, great work so that our students will be successful. So I just wanted to make mention of that.
I just have to add a little something, but I heard once that your agenda reflects your priorities. And I think our agenda tonight really, like, we are student focused in every presentation, from the bus driver to the testing to the literacy to even our financial report, when we talk about salaries for teachers, we are really trying to focus on what is best for students, and I think that was clear in this meeting, from my perspective. And I second one superintendent. I so appreciate, there's so many things like that training from the bus. Like, who knew? I had no idea how specific. I was like, wow, I don't know if I could qualify to be a bus driver. I mean, they are, and really, student safety is so great. So anyhow, I talk too much, but I just am really grateful for those presentations tonight as well.
Absolutely. It's hard to not be excited about what's happening in the district when our people are so excited about what they do for kids and so passionate and professional in their roles. So thank you to everyone tonight. I would agree. I think the whole board surely agrees. All right, we are now.
Tiffany, can I
Yes.
say, I'd just
Yes,
like to
please.
thank everyone for all the yummy treats tonight. That's a
Oh.
very nice Christmas thing, so thank you
Yes,
all.
thank you so much. There's not a tag on that pretzel, but I want to wish you a Merry, Merry Christmas, and I hope your holidays are all wonderful. So, okay, and thank you, all those who left goodies. All right, now, are we ready? Okay, we need a motion, roll call vote to move into to adjourn this meeting, and just move into closed session.
We
I
have
don't
an
know why
action
this-
item after closed session.
Okay.
I motion, what do I say? What do I say? I don't know. I'm tired. I move that we move into, that doesn't sound right. Go into closed session for the purpose of sale of real, sale or lease of real property. Whew.
We have a motion and a second. And let's do a roll call vote, starting down your end, Brian.
Julie Taylor, yes.
Tiffany Summers, yes.
Danielle Wright, yes.
Karen Cronin, yes.
Stephanie D. Phillips, yes.
Okay, thank you. We'll move over to the next room.
Okay. We'll move over to the next room, then just come back for that one action item after, and then we'll be done, so. I don't think you need to, because I don't know how long we might be back there, so. Yeah, no, I think you're okay. You're not gonna pull out my arm to stay.
Robert, thank you very much. Appreciate you.
It's kind of short with us when we don't use our mics.
Yeah, I know. We've got one job. All right. We need a motion.
Well, should we
We
ask
didn't-
Neil, does this need to be in two motions?
We didn't, and we never left the board meeting, so we don't
Yeah.
have to like reconvene into the board meeting. We just, those two motions.
I believe that they're noticed as one motion because they're both the same topic.
Okay.
But I think we should do each motion separate because they're separate transactions.
Well, I'll do the first one here. I move that,
Hey, Julie, your mic.
oh, sorry, I thought I pushed it. Thank you. Sorry, it's late, tired. Now I can't get to it. Okay, so the one I have up is, I move that the Box Elder School District Board of Education approve the real estate sale contract for the property located at 7950 South, 575 West, South Willard, Utah, 84340, parcel ID number 0104000090, parcel ID number 030820024, in the amount of $1 million to Vernon Mortensen.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, that motion passes.
I move that the Box Elder School District Board of Education approve the land exchange with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, 0.83 acres of parcel ID number 050400106 plus $510,000 owned by the Box Elder School District will be exchanged for parcel ID number 0516900017 owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for the purposes of facilitating the expansion of the Bear River High School.
I second that.
All those, oh, sure.
So in the financial implications, it says that 510,000 of that.
Turn their mic off. No, you need yours on. Yeah, there you go. Now it's not blinking anymore.
In the financial implications for that, it says 510,000 will come from the capital outlay fund. And if I understood you right, you said that that's the rainy day fund?
Well, so capital outlay, we receive tax funds each year from the capital outlay levy. And this represents the reserves, or if you want to call it a rainy fund, that's appropriate. It's just your savings account, money we received, we haven't used in expenditures in prior years, accumulated to approximately $27 million.
So that is different than the money that we received for the whole project of the high schools and the.
Yes, that's correct. The high school will be financed, the construction high school will be financed with the leased revenue bond, for which we raised $9.2 million in additional revenues to be earmarked for the payment of the bond on those things. This is will come from the savings account. Savings monies are one-time monies because they don't continue to generate unless you spend less. Whereas the property tax revenues, they are ongoing money. So what I'm stipulating here is that we're using our savings account fund to pay for this at this moment.
So isn't this part of that project of the high school remodel?
It is part of the project, but it wasn't anticipated that we would include the acquisition of real estate in the financing of these projects, because I feel like we need to reserve whatever potential cost overruns if in there for from the bond proceeds, because that's an unknown in the future.
So this amount is in addition to what the overall price tag of building?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other questions, discussion? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, that motion passes. And seeing that we have completed everything on the agenda tonight, we are adjourned.